Hey, and happy Thursday, everybody. We are live with Chris Stachiw. Chris, this is the first live show I think you said you've ever done, right?
Mm, this is the first time I'm doing it with you. We did Mike White and I 2 years ago did the Snyder Cut live
Uh,
because that's a thing anybody wanted. I mean, look, people want that. I don't necessarily. I wasn't one of those people, but I always said if it ever comes out, we'll do an episode live, and it did. So we did. But that's the only time. I've done one other YouTube thing for another podcast I work on, but we didn't do it live. So.
well, for anybody that doesn't know and didn't watch the video with Chris that was on the channel about 6 weeks ago already now,
Yeah, it's been
um,
a while.
Chris is a prolific bastard. Uh,
Yes. That's a
there,
nice way of putting it.
There are so many podcasts to talk about. Chris is the host of the KultureCast, the Bollywood cinema podcast, ranking on. Let's go through a few of these. Ranking on Best, which is now done. Ranking on Bond, which is now brand new and exclusive to Patreon. Lots and lots of other stuff. Any others that you really want to shout out that you're highlighting right now?
Scary Stories We Tell is something that I still do, and it's very different from everything else that I'm involved in. It's more supernatural, spooky, true crime, all of those. I mean, again, and that your mileage is going to vary if you're into those sort of things. So, I mean,
Right.
and similarly to like the movie stuff we do, I don't know how people that aren't into movies watch things or listen to things that have to do with movies. So, if you're into true crime and spooky stuff, Scary Stories We Tell is fun. But yeah, I mean, being as you can see here at the bottom of your screen, the co-founder of a podcast network, it keeps you busy with podcasts all the time, monthly, bi-weekly, and weekly. So
Yeah, probably should have led with that. Chris is the co-founder and really the man behind Weirding Way Media, which is home to many podcasts, and it's just crazy to see everything that's filing under that name nowadays.
and an answer to what I've been watching recently may have to do with a project that you and I are working on that we haven't really talked about and we're not going to talk about, but just know that there's something in the pipeline between dear Ryan and dear Chris, because this is not the only time that we're talking. Even if it's on live, this is not the only time we're talking all the time. So
Chris is one of the people that I'm now spending a lot of my life speaking with actually recently, and yeah, I've been so bored in my non-existent free time life that I decided, why don't we start another show? And yeah, Chris and I will be talking about that in the coming months. I guess we could probably just say right now that we can look forward to that dropping for the first time in May of
yeah,
2024, and
yeah.
I'm excited.
Me too. I'm excited because for me, getting to work with someone that I haven't worked with is always a joy. But working with someone who and I said this to you, and I'll say it here because I think your audience deserves to hear someone praise you as much as they, I'm sure, praise you. You are one of the few people that I genuinely like. When I met you outside of outside of kind of the way we met through Patreon, a
Right.
Patreon movie group, you and I clicked immediately.
Yeah.
And in a way that I clicked with a lot of the people I worked with early on in podcasting that I don't podcast with anymore, because those people aren't as professional as you. It's like you're the professional version of those people. Because they're no longer the co-host on my show. Like I only really co-host things with people that I'm like, you're not going to just bail on me halfway through, which has happened for, again, plenty of reasons that have really nothing to do with me. So yeah,
Yeah.
anytime I meet someone who I'm like, I think this person is one hell of a professional, I tend to want to gravitate towards them and work with them. So
Same.
you are one of those people. So
I'm flattered. That means the world. Normally at this time we would go into physical media and recent pickups, and we will in just a second. But first, a little bit mention on you. Like, you are not the giant physical media head. Usually, most people that are on here, we have are people that are really attached to it, and you're here just because you love film, like me primarily. But you're in it a little bit.
well, I mean, so here's the thing, and I don't think I've told you this story, but when I went to college in 2008, I kind of went on I'm just gonna go ape shit and buy a bunch of DVDs spree. So I have 8 DVD binders in my basement full of TV shows and movies and plenty of stuff that's probably long out of print, but I don't have the boxes anymore. anymore. I only have the discs. And like your entire audience is probably shaking their head and going, no, how could you? Because I don't have all the space in the world. And that's the
Right.
unfortunate part. And at the same time, I kept the things that for me were important. So I do have a fair amount of physical media. I just don't have a lot of the boxes anymore, but I have boxes for certain things. I have some, let's see. I have the Blade Runner special edition that came in that briefcase. Do you remember that? Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I've got that. I have a couple things, but yeah, I mean, for me, after a while, it's not that I didn't have any interest in it, but when you watch as much stuff as I have to, expecting that I'm going to own all of it physically is unrealistic for like 4 or 5 different reasons. But again, to your point, like I watch so much stuff and I do buy physical media of things that I really love. But for the most part, I mean, I'm watching a lot of stuff on streaming or digitally. So yeah, but I have a lot of stuff. It's just, once streaming and digital became a thing, I just kind of stopped because again, it's easier to do certain things quickly than it is to do others.
Well, maybe one thing we could highlight, you're actually on some physical media.
Yes, I am. I am. I've had the opportunity to be on 3 separate releases. One of those being the Kolchak, the Night Stalker re-release by Kino Lorber on Blu-ray, because Mike and I did a entire recap of that show back long time ago. So we were on that thanks to someone that you've spoken to, someone who I will also sing their praises, Amanda Reyes. She got us on that Blu-ray, which was awesome. So big thanks to her if you want to hear us on that one. And then I have been able to be on 2 other physical releases through a mutual friend of ours, Mike White's show, The Projection Booth, because he has done commentary for The Cassandra Cat, which is a Czechoslovakian film, and then All My Good Countrymen, which is also a Czechoslovakian film. So I am not Czechoslovakian. I am Italian, Ukrainian, and then mix of other things. So I am not an expert on Czechoslovakian film on the face of it, but having watched a fair amount of it because of Mike White, I've gotten to know it rather intimately. So yeah, those would be places you can pick those Blu-rays that I have been on up. So yeah, which is a great opportunity, and it's like, I pinch myself that I was on the Kolchak, the Night Stalker Blu-ray, and I told this story on that episode of that show, the first episode we did. My dad bought me the Kolchak, the Night Stalker physical media when I was in high school because he loved it so much and was like, here, you watch this because I know you love The X-Files, which is one of my favorite shows. And then it is weird to then be on the next, and I would probably assume, final re-release of the show. So I own the only other version of the show, and that wasn't the one I was on, but now I'm on the other version. So it's that's the pinch myself moment. And I can, like, there are other things I wish I had been on or could be on, but like I could die happy knowing that I was on the Kolchak, the Night Stalker Blu-ray. So
that is wonderful. I mean, the Kolchak releases ended up incredible from Kino, and then the Cassandra Cat. Funny enough, literally last night in our Discord for the channel, we had somebody asking, should I watch the Cassandra Cat or I don't even remember what the other movie was now, but I was immediately the Cassandra Cat. Go watch it. That second run release is incredible.
And that's a fun movie. I mean, again, if you're already open to it, like, cool, go for it. But it's not, I mean, it's not something, I guess, I wouldn't have thought it's something I'm going to seek out. But if other people are interested and into it, check it out. It's a fun, weird, Czechoslovakian films are strange and fun. So I'm a fan of that cinema just in general now, thanks to Mike. So
Silent Mandible chiming in saying it was him that was asking what to watch. I hope you enjoyed the Cassandra Cat.
Go listen to that commentary too. That's the shameless plug. Go check that out now too.
Well, recent pickups. I'm super excited because one of these came out, 2.5 months ago or something like that. Finally got in the Monster Squad on 4K. Wonderful release again from Kino Lorber, but it was delayed because I pre-ordered it with the Inside the Mind of Coffin Joe box set from Arrow Video. Here's a list of all the titles. This is a wonderful Brazilian filmmaker. Crazy big release. You can see so many special features on this thing. I could not even read all of this off. The way that they have produced this is just amazing. We have all of these cases. We have multiple films in each of these. Then, of course, posters. And I'm most excited for something like this, the giant book for this, to give all the context behind such an important filmmaker for a culture that has really gone, especially in recent years, just kind of underappreciated on physical media, and therefore a lot of people just have not had the chance to watch these at all. So very excited to dig into this. I know a lot of people are worried about getting it, and man, this thing is huge, and already setting 2024 off as a really decent start to the year with that box set.
Brazilian filmmakers, I've had the opportunity to watch a couple Brazilian films on the projection booth. I believe Show Me the Way, Jesus, Show Me the Way to the Highway, and Crumbs are two Brazilian films that I watched, and those are really interesting. So Brazilian filmmakers have a very distinct voice, and I'm definitely a fan of it.
What about yourself? Any physical media pickups you want to talk about?
Yeah, I mean, this will give me an opportunity to continue to shamelessly plug the things that I work on, which I hate to do, but I'll do it here. I picked up over the holidays because we're covering it, like you mentioned, on a Patreon exclusive show. I picked up the James Bond Blu-ray set that they released a couple years ago. I got it for rather cheap, and I will say it leaves something to be desired in terms of the quality of the cases that they provide, because the discs slip around like crazy inside. And yeah, not great in terms of the quality of the packaging that they released it in, but all of them are Blu-ray. All of them have the commentaries. All of them have, for the most part, I believe, anything that would have come out on the other version that they released a couple years ago, which is not a new physical media pickup in terms of time since it came out. But it's definitely one that I bought because I saw it on the shelves at Half Price Books for $5. And that is the first in the series of the James Bond DVDs that they released. But it has some interesting choices: Goldfinger, License to Kill. And these are really iconic for me because these were the versions that I saw growing up, but the VHS versions. And they have those, I guess for me, iconic covers of the movies. I don't know. They stuck with me. So, just to, show everybody this like 25-year-old DVD set that I got for $5. I'm that guy, folks. I almost bought The Sopranos on VHS at Half Price Books. So I'm unfortunately that person. But I also did pick up a movie that I really liked from last year. Again, some people in your audience may like it. Some people may not like it. And I think the divisiveness of the movie speaks volumes to how interesting it is. I picked up the Steelbook version of Skinamarink, which is probably one of my favorite movies of last year, if not the movie.
Wow.
I loved Skinamarink. I was the right person to see that movie. I was the target audience. I was the 90s kid who woke up in the middle of the night and was scared shitless. And that's what the movie mined. And I mean, look, Steelbooks, everybody loves them. Both of the discs. It's fantastic packaging, fantastic quality movie. And if you haven't seen it, check it out. But also, this was like $20 at Walmart. So a good pickup. And who doesn't love a good Steelbook? Like anybody else, I'm a fan of Steelbooks. Maybe some people don't like them, but I'm a Steelbook fan. So that's me. I actually I had some answers for you. I know you're probably, like you said, I don't necessarily come off as the physical media expert, but I do buy things from time to time. It's just not new stuff.
Especially as a Steelbook, that's pretty rad, especially for you. It's not a movie I liked, but many people did.
Did you really not like it? Like at all?
No, I could not stand it. I wish it was a 15-minute short.
That's fair. Hey, look, either you liked it or you didn't. There was literally no middle ground, which, if you have watched the movie, you will understand why there is no middle ground, because it is a very specific kind of movie made to elicit a very specific reaction. And for me, like I said, it did, but I have plenty of friends who went and said the same thing you did. Why was this? I'm bored. This is a 10-minute thing. So I get it, but I'm a fan. So
for those that loved it, they really loved that thing. And it
you're
really
looking at
worked
one of them
for a lot of people. For other stuff that maybe you loved, what else have you been watching maybe in the last week or two? I know you watch a lot of stuff.
Yeah, and again, like I said, in the whole kind of scope of the things I work on, I watch something every day, be it movie or television or a combination of the two. I don't want to talk about anything I'm watching for anything else other than I will mention I spent the last 2 weeks watching a lot of Scream, and a lot of Scream related content for something that you and I are working on collectively. In terms of things that I'm watching right now, something that I will sing the praises of, and I've been singing the praises of on social media when I do post, which is rather infrequently because social media sucks for the most part. And it just recently, it's kind of back in the spotlight because it won some awards. The Bear. I watched it over the holidays, and first season's amazing. Second season's amazing. I know people have issues with the second season, wheel spinning and whatnot, but I enjoyed both seasons. Jeremy Allen White. Had not seen him in anything else. I didn't watch Shameless. I may never watch Shameless because I don't have 30,000 hours of free time to watch 13 seasons of an hour long an episode show. And look, not saying that I don't sit and binge stuff, but I can't binge that.
That's a lot.
There's more of an expectation there. So The Bear, on the other hand, is like 18 episodes, and for the most part, each episode's like 20 minutes. If you're into the world of cooking and fine dining, it's definitely a show worth checking out. But if you're also into, let's just say, family dynamics being explored in interesting and fun ways, I would say check it out. And there are some really great performances from people that I haven't seen in anything. And then also, people that show up later in the second and first season of the show that are guest stars for one episode that make a huge impact. And I'm not going to spoil anything because it's worth not knowing who they are going into it. But The Bear for me is a big kind of thing I keep thinking about right now a lot. And I like I said, singing the praises any chance I get.
Interesting.
It's TV though. I get it. Like, it's not a movie, but
Yeah, and I've got one of those to talk about tonight too. I've really wanted to see this, and I think what is her name? Is it Ayo Adibri from Bottoms? She's in The Bear too, right?
Yeah, she's the first season. It's very much a single character study show, and then the second season becomes more of an ensemble, and she has a much bigger presence in the second season. She's great. I will say though, if you're asking specifically movies, finally got around to watching Killers of the Flower Moon, which was good. Martin Scorsese is a director who directed one of my favorite movies, being Goodfellas. So I will watch most things that he has directed. I will say, and this might seem sacrilegious, and I've seen people in your chat already talking about the blasphemer that I am. I will continue to be myself and have opinions that I condone only as myself. I'm not a huge Leonardo DiCaprio fan. Never really have been. I kind of feel like he always just is operating in I need to win an Oscar mode, and I really detested the diatribiness of the people complaining that he was nominated all those times and never won. Like, that really soured me on him when he won for The Revenant, which is a movie that literally nobody talks about anymore. So congrats everybody. He won for a movie that people who wanted him to win don't even really care about, but it was all about the award. I would contend if he should have won an award for anything, it probably should have been Wolf of Wall Street. And I don't even like that movie. But that was a much more interesting and fully realized character. But the character he plays in Killers of the Flower Moon, I've seen reviews say like, he's an idiot and I don't want to spend 3.5 hours with an idiot character. And he is a put upon kind of dullard of a character, but he plays it so well, and it's it has to be needed. It's needed in the narrative that I enjoyed that movie, but it is 3.5 hours. So carve out time accordingly in your schedule for a 3.5 hour film.
I understand the Leo thing. He definitely should not have won for The Revenant. That's not one of his best performances at all. No. Honestly, instead of Wolf of Wall Street, I think he probably should have won for Django Unchained. Either that or
okay.
And I'm a big fan of Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I think he did pretty incredible in that too.
But I really don't want to make your audience any madder than I probably already have by going down that road.
We have had multiple anti-Tarantino rants on here, so don't worry about that.
Yeah, I mean, sorry. I don't like people that plagiarize other people's work, and I'll just leave it at that. And if you're
we
going to do it, at least apologize, at least take responsibility. Don't just pretend, because in these time of magic and wonders, the internet exists now. Let's just put it that way. 20
I
years
agree
ago,
there.
30 years ago, not the case. I get it.
So a few things from my list from the last week, which for me, it's been a surprisingly decent week. Normally I'm at 1 or 2 things watched for the full week. We finished Beef finally, super behind, but watched that limited series on Netflix. It was decent. I thought it kind of went a little jump the sharky in the last episode or two. Like they tried to make it too over the top. Have you watched Beef yet?
I haven't.
I
That's
really
the Steve Ewan show, right?
yeah, and I love him in pretty much everything. So I was eager to see this, and he's genuinely incredible in this. I thought it was a really good premise. I think it got a little too wacky by the end of it, which kind of hard not to when you start off the way that they do and start a limited series because somebody honks their horn at somebody and it just goes crazy. Next thing, I finally watched Poor Things. Been trying to finish this for a long time. Thought it was pretty great. I'm normally not a huge fan of the absurd like he always throws in his movies, but I think this was a really well done one. Had a little bit like too in your face messaging. Other than that, it was fun. I stoked that it was a very like this is going to sound weird to say, but happy that we are talking so positively on the internet right now about a movie that is so forward with nudity and sex rather than being so prudish like the internet's been for the last couple of years. This is a very horny movie.
Eternity, you mean?
Yes, this is true. But yeah, this is a very very horny movie. I think anybody that hasn't seen it, I think most people will probably find something to enjoy in it, and it's also beautiful. Like pretty much everything he does is incredible looking, but this is exceptional. Like maybe his best looking movie yet.
I haven't seen a single Yorgos Lanthimos film.
I would recommend Dogtooth. It's my favorite.
Okay.
For sure.
Okay. It's just not that I have any reason. It's just it's never been anything that anyone has gone out of their way to mention, and it's never come up on my show to cover. So, and not that I'm saying that has to be a reason, but it makes it easier to watch it if I have to watch it.
Well, now I might recommend that for a future episode.
Yeah, I'd love because I mean I know that a lot of people are really big fans of his, and I would love to understand why, and I just haven't gotten to that point yet. So, auteurs, as they would say.
I get that. Speaking of auteurs, I watched Glazer's The Zone of Interest. Was able to catch up with that one, and for most people, that's not out yet until like 2 weeks from now. So for now, I will say strongly recommend going to see The Zone of Interest if you can. For those that have not heard anything about this, which granted, it's not getting a whole lot of press right now. This movie is about a family that lives literally right outside of Auschwitz, and it's all about how they're kind of just normal people living their life in a family ran by a Nazi, and how that affects them in a day-to-day life. And my God, is this movie haunting in so many crazy ways. Like the fact that you are watching a family celebrate things while literally plumes of ash rising in the air behind them fill up many scenes. It is a wild movie. Strongly recommend for anybody.
Interesting. Is that a contemporary release, or is this a re-release of something from?
This is brand new in theaters.
Oh wow, okay. I haven't not heard of it, but my lord, that sounds intense.
It is intense. It is set during World War II, and it is I can't even say like the performances are incredible because it's basically just people living, and it's weird to say like there's nothing exceptional about it, but my goodness, incredible movie. Strong recommendation. And to end on a poor note, I'm curious if you saw this one. I finally saw Wonka.
No,
it's not good.
Okay, so Timothée Chalamet is in Dune. I'm not a huge fan of Denis Villeneuve's Dune, but I'm a huge fan of David Lynch's Dune, and I'm a huge fan of the source material. And I'm not a huge fan of him there, and that was kind of like a big deal for him as the lead of the movie. And I wasn't a fan there of what he was doing, and just looking at the Wonka trailer look, I love Paddington 1 and 2, so I'm not above watching like cutesy movies, but
Right.
it looked a little like it's ironic the movie's about candy because it seemed pretty saccharine to me just from the trailers. And I'm okay with saccharine movies. Like I said, Paddington is pretty saccharine, but I'm not sure that really jives with what I expect from a Willy Wonka movie. But, you know, when it comes out on streaming, I'm sure I'll watch it because, you know, it's got Rowan Atkinson in it, who I adore beyond belief. So, no. And Hugh Grant is a Oompa Loompa. Just God in heaven, what were they thinking?
Okay, so I'll say some positive things. The supporting cast is by far the best part of this. Like, Keegan-Michael Key steals every scene he's in. Rowan Atkinson,
Shocking.
I want a movie about Rowan Atkinson's character. Hilarious. Olivia Colman, I did not even realize she was in this, and then it made me realize, like, is she in kind of every single movie nowadays?
She's in The Bear, bro, for one scene, and it's like one of the best scenes in the entire show. I'm not even kidding. She's in one scene in the entire series so far, and it's like widely considered to be one of the best scenes in the entire show. So yeah, I think so. She's amazing. She's in Hot Fuzz. She's in remember how she's in Hot Fuzz?
She's amazing in Hot Fuzz.
I know. And like every time I watch that movie, I'm like, oh right, Olivia Colman is in this movie being really funny because oh yeah, she's also hilarious.
Yeah. Last couple things, the music in it pretty much sucks. There's a couple decent songs, but there's one, I think it's called Scrub Scrub is the name of the song, goes on so damn long. It is real bad. What else? Like, Timothée Chalamet's not the worst part of the movie, but this script is just bad. It is built as a direct prequel to the original Willy Wonka, and it just does not work. Like, they have two of our main characters dealing with missing parent trauma, and it's too much. Like, if you're gonna do that, you can do too much with that, and yeah, they do. Did not like this all that much at all. It was pretty to look at, obviously, but then there's so many things that are just a mistake. Like, you brought up Hugh Grant. I don't think it was just where I watched it, but I believe the singing that he does, the mouth movement is not even in time with the music, and it's so bad.
Awesome.
Not a fan.
I'm glad they spent a lot of money to make the movie.
And
I mean, you know, it is what it is,
they marketed
right?
this thing for literally like 12 months too.
Yeah, well, I mean,
It's
a known property, Ryan. It's Willy Wonka. Everybody loves Willy Wonka. So can I ask you a question? Does it make Charlie and the Chocolate Factory look like a better movie than it deserves to be? Because I don't hate that movie, I think, as much as everybody else does.
I don't think it made it look better. I think it was already a much better movie than this. It's decent, yeah.
Okay, yeah. I know Charlie and the Chocolate Factory is not... Johnny Depp's performance in that movie does rub people the wrong way, but like I would contend that's the intention of the role.
Yeah.
Is to be... I mean, look, if you want to model Willy Wonka off of Michael Jackson... Okay. That's a choice. I mean, I get where you're coming from with the intent behind the psychology of the character, but nah, I'm good. Like, yeah, but I'm not watching the new one because I don't need to know why Gene Wilder's character is the way that he is, because like that, God, I guess we do live in the time now where prequels and sequels just to everything are just expected. Nobody bats an eye at it, but I don't think anybody's as excited for any of these movies as they used to be or could have been if up until this point these movies had actually been worth watching, as opposed to just existing like this movie does and will more or less probably be forgotten within the next 12 to 18 months.
Well, and honestly, you know, this is probably a good time to talk about genuine modern cinema, because 2023 as a whole, we've complained a lot about remake, sequels, prequels for years. And 2023 I feel like was a genuinely great year for original IP, and Past Lives killed it, The Holdovers killed it, Talk to Me was great in horror. A lot of things were not tied to franchises that were great, and so it makes something like this look even worse when it comes out. So I don't know.
I mean, I know later in this show we're going to be talking about Harrison Ford, and it's almost like a Harrison Ford movie came out last year that might get mentioned in terms of whether or not it even needed to exist. But I would agree with you. Last year was great for original ideas, but not great for sequels or sequels and prequels, and I guess pre-existing IP, because last year was the first year, and hey, it's a running gag between the two of us. Last year was the first year that Disney got big time egg on their face with the MCU. So, like, admittedly so, in a way that I don't even think they were prepared to deal with. So, yeah, last year was interesting for a lot of people like myself and yourself that are sick and tired of seeing IPs run into the ground and want new things to latch onto.
Yeah, and one of those MCU movies that failed last year kind of has a tie to Harrison Ford that I might talk about tonight. So we'll see that.
And to new releases as well.
Beyond that, we are talking about Harrison Ford after our physical media announcements this week. And before we dive in, why Harrison Ford? Is Harrison Ford somebody that you've liked for a long time? Anything special about Harrison Ford?
I mean, look, similarly to yourself, we're close in age. You probably grew up with, or at least saw, Indiana Jones as a kid. I definitely saw Indiana Jones as a kid. I saw Star Wars as a kid. So like that, I mean, like Harrison Ford, Han Solo, Indiana Jones, like all part and parcel of the same fun area of the world that Harrison Ford was doing at that time. And then watching the other things that aren't those, you find out that this guy's also an immensely talented actor when he's in the right thing. And there are plenty of things that I've seen him in that are questionable that will probably rankle some people when we talk about Harrison Ford. But yeah, Harrison Ford's, I mean, I think for me, he's like one of those actors that just, he's an interesting actor and he makes movies that are, at least he's always turning in a performance interesting, or he's doing something interesting. And again, he's also a good looking human being, even now, then, and forever.
For sure.
You know, so, I mean, he has the looks and he has the talent, and, you know, I mean, you could do worse than Harrison Ford. I'm not necessarily sure he knows how to throw a punch. I know that people always give Indiana Jones a hard time for his kind of goofy physicality, but at the same time, like, those movies always leaned on the right thing, which was pulp serials. So I love Harrison Ford. Everything that he's been in, for the most part, that I've seen him in, is better because he's in it. And that's the sign of a great actor.
And he survived 2 plane crashes. Like, I kind of have to respect him.
So as someone who's spent a fair amount of time trying to get their private pilot's license and not getting it for any reason other than I just didn't finish, he is not a person who needs to be flying anymore, because, bro, like, at what point do we go, hey, like, it's unsafe? Like, these are not just like, he's him as a pilot, probably less said the better.
Yeah, let's not discuss his oeuvre for flying planes tonight.
Yeah.
Are we ready to discuss a whole bunch of physical media?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. First up, we have a release coming from Third Window Films in the UK on March 11th. This is 1%er, and man, does this sound pretty damn interesting. This one says action film star Takuma Toshiro is a man with only one goal: the perfection of action film acting. But when his samurai approach to the profession clashes with an industry addicted to wires, CGI, and quick edits, Toshiro and his trusty apprentice Akira decide to make their own dream film themselves. When actual violence finds its way into their film set in the form of Yakuza mobsters looking for a hidden cache of drugs, Toshiro and Akira are suddenly thrust into action. Is this the ideal opportunity to take his real action to the next level? And then on this disc, we're also going to have an audio commentary by Arna Venema and Mike Leader. They do some great work. They got a making of and some trailers. This one sounds fun.
It sounds nice and meta in a way that, what was it? One Cut of the Dead? Sounds kind of like One Cut of the Dead, which, I'm a huge fan of that movie. That's a fun movie. So I'm always a fan of anybody making movies about the art of making movies. That's what people like us who watch movies get off on, right?
Yeah. And this, I think the comparison to One Cut of the Dead could be apt, could be like that for action films. It sounds good.
Yeah.
And honestly, Third Window Films is one of the companies that really made One Cut of the Dead big in the world. They really pushed that. They handled the Blu-ray release first and did a lot of the marketing for it. So
that's why I
wouldn't be surprised. Yeah. Next up is on the Vinegar Syndrome website. You can order, as part of their VSP line, Divinity. And this is one that got announced as part of their subscriber week. Has a pretty damn interesting cast in this. We got Stephen Dorff, Scott Bakula, and a few others. And this one has a whole bunch of stuff on here. We got a 60-minute audio conversation between Eddie Alcazar, who's the writer and director, and the producer, Steven Soderbergh. That's a pretty damn cool conversation. And Justin LaLiberty is the one that moderated that. We got a video essay by Sam Deegan on this about divinity and speculative science fiction. Behind the scenes, some trailers, teaser trailers, and a 28-page booklet with an essay by Ariel Esteban Calle, which is the owner of Connie Films. Man, this is pretty interesting sounding.
Sam Deegan, had the opportunity to work with Sam in the past. So I mean, anything that Sam works on, I'm a fan of. So definitely one to check out, because Sam Deegan knows her stuff, folks.
Yeah, that's about it. Not much else to say. She's brilliant.
Yeah.
Next,
and I thought Soderbergh retired.
What's funny
just kidding, folks. Just kidding.
I have talked about Soderbergh and his retirement, I think 3 times in the last month on different shows.
I think we've talked about it offline at some point, because
yes.
I know we brought it up at some point.
Literally. Next is Kino, coming soon. Enough Rope from 1963. We got a French one coming, and I know literally nothing about this. French film from like the 60s and 70s. You into much of that?
Films from the 60s and 70s, yes. French films, no. But it does have Gert Frode in it, who is Goldfinger, at least the actor who plays Goldfinger in Goldfinger. Not the voice, but the body of Goldfinger. So this is probably good, is what I'm saying.
Probably. Sibner is saying Soderbergh retires more times than Cher. That's a
true.
Pretty good joke. Next up, February 27th on Blue from Searchlight Pictures, aka Disney. Next Goal Wins, the Taika Waititi joint, which he is not doing too hot nowadays.
I was about to say, does anybody want this movie to come out on anything physical? Did anybody see this movie?
That's a good question. I don't know anybody that has.
I heard that there was transphobia in the movie, which is super cool to do in 2024. And yeah, I mean, it seems to me that internet darling Taika Waititi has now felt the internet turn on him, like so many other internet darlings like Lin-Manuel Miranda and other people have experienced, where the internet just goes, oh yeah, you can't just keep cashing in on your prior works. You can't just keep doing that. So
yeah. And
that's
honestly,
too bad, because I love Michael Fassbender. He's amazing.
I really enjoyed Thor Ragnarok, and then really hated Thor Love and Thunder.
Still haven't seen it, but I like What We Do in the Shadows. But I mean, at this point, Taika Waititi's like barely involved, if involved at all. So yeah, I'm ready for him to go away for a while. Like cool it with like, I'm so me and everybody loves me. And it's like, I mean, that's fine. But at the same time, if you do that and you don't give people a release valve, they will turn on you. And is that him on the cover? It probably is. So is he in the corner there as one of those characters? It looks like Taika in the top right. Is that not Taika Waititi in like a mustache?
Oh, yes.
Okay. So yeah, like, dude, you don't need to be on the cover of your own movie. I'm sorry. Like it's just, I mean, he's just a lot, which is fine. But like, that is going to rub people the wrong way. It just is. And it clearly has. So
yeah, it's true.
It's too bad.
We got some special features on here, but yeah, next up.
I genuinely don't know who's watching that movie. Like, seriously.
Who's it for?
Yeah.
February 13th, Wellgo USA is releasing A Creature Was Stirring from last year. This is the Chrissy Metz Christmas horror film coming out the day before Valentine's Day. And I hate the laziness of this tagline. A creature was stirring, and it wasn't a mouse.
What? It's amazing. I mean, I kind of love it because, like, oh, okay, it's the night before. What's the night before Christmas? Oh, okay. Is it a movie about a giant rat?
I mean, I don't know what kind of creature. It's some sort of creature.
Is it a giant mouse?
It's a giant something.
Oh my god! It looks like Krampus, which, you know, I'm a huge fan of that movie. The director's a huge fan of me. Wink, wink.
This one also has Scout Taylor Compton in it. I don't think she's in it very much, but has a small role. And I hear like the creature is decent, but the movie's overall pretty meh. Um, yes, thanks, Dustin.
I mean, it has one of the Face Off award winners, one of the people who won Face Off, so or at least was on Face Off. So that's fun. I like Face Off. That's why I got like nothing else beyond that. Like
it looks like Gargamel from the Smurfs fell on a cactus.
Yeah, I don't know what is like a porcupine. Like I don't know what we're looking at here. This box art. If I saw this, I would not. I don't think I would be intrigued enough to watch it.
This is not enticing you? Come on.
No, not really. And it wasn't a mouse. I like that. That's fun. I mean, that is fun.
All right.
But you haven't seen this movie?
I've not seen this one, no.
Wow, that disappoints me that you haven't seen A Creature Was Stirring and it wasn't a mouse.
Next up on the list, February 13th on 4K, which is going to be a pressed mod disc from Universal, Ticket to Paradise from 2022. Have you checked this one out?
Would it surprise you to learn I haven't?
Not at all. George Clooney, Julia Roberts. The funny thing, I've heard that this is surprisingly good.
I mean, they're both great actors. So
genuinely, yes. It would not surprise me.
And I love George Clooney. I mean, Julia Roberts has a weird energy. Like for me, like she has a weird energy as an actress. Like sometimes I bristle at it, sometimes I'm cool with it, but I love George Clooney. So that's like a really lazy box art. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, I'm assuming that was probably the poster for the movie, but those two people alone, like that moves boxes off the shelf because those people have massive audiences
immediately. Yeah.
Yeah.
Derek says, I saw it in theaters and it was pleasant and enjoyable. Worth a watch.
Yeah. If that's all it needs to be, then it's a success.
You know, honestly, I'm going to highlight Ronnie's comment for a second here and really pay attention to this. Ronnie says, so much bad cover art on studio releases recently. I swear to God, if they just spend a modicum of what they spend for one commercial to cover art, it could be leagues better. And yet we get stuff like this that was probably literally a screenshot from the film, moderately photoshopped.
Or the poster for the movie, which is also what it looks like. Like what if I look at this, what is this telling me about the movie? Nothing. Right. Like two good-looking people, one is staring off into the distance, the other one's staring at the other one. Okay, so it's a rom-com, I'm assuming. Like, and that's it. Like, and I think in and of itself, like it's lazy because this is the way that they advertise rom-coms. Like,
yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, this is lazy, but this is also what you said, Universal. So
yep.
Yeah.
Speaking of good-looking people, Heather's here tonight. Julia Roberts will eat your babies.
I mean, there are some pretty good memes of her online opening her large mouth.
Yeah. Next one. May 21st on 4K from Unearthed, we finally have a date for The Guyver. Now, this one is an older movie. Now I got to ask, have you ever seen The Guyver?
I haven't, but it's on my list because it has Mark Hamill in it.
It does indeed. And this one is going to be a pretty solid release. This is coming. We got a 4K disc and a Blu-ray disc. And we also have the CD soundtrack in this, which is pretty dang rad for a film like this. From That's Unearthed awesome. Especially. They don't normally do that. That's great. New 4K restoration of the original R-rated cut from the camera negative. We got HDR on the disc. We got a new commentary with Screaming Mad George and Steve Wang themselves. Moderated on this one by Dom O'Brien, who wrote Budget Biomorphs, the making of the Guyver films, which I have and is really great. And that's the biggest thing I kind of want to shout out here. The book Budget Biomorphs, you can go on Amazon right now, search that up. It is really great. This is the kind of thing that if you are even remotely interested in how movies get made, Dom goes into everything you could possibly want to know about these films, and it's something that is special. And if you're going to buy this and fall in love with it and maybe decide later, don't forget to go pick up that book. It is exceptionally well written, and just have to give it extra attention here.
I'm sold. You sold me.
We also got,
this is a movie I've heard about forever. So
of course, we're also waiting on the sequel. That's the biggest thing. We have no news on the sequel ever coming. Come on, Stan. When are we getting the sequel? For those that don't know, Stan Geezy was involved with either is it one or two of the Guyver films? Stan, let us know. Stan was on set for quite a few things back in the day. This is also going to have new interviews with Brian Usna. We got a new interview with Screaming Mad George outside of that commentary. New outtakes with commentary by Screaming Mad George and Steve Wang. We got suit tests with both of them. We got a gag reel with commentary by both of them. Production and artwork gallery. There's a lot. And then a CD soundtrack, like I said. Like there is a great release coming in this.
Yeah, it sure looks like it.
Next up is Vinegar Syndrome announced that they are putting out Black Cat 1 and 2 as part of the VSA line. For those that have not seen it, Black Cat came out on 88 Films in the UK fairly recently. So now we are getting both of them. Here we go. Stan says, spent time on the set of the first film and was the videographer on the second film.
Wow.
That's pretty amazing. Black Cat 1 and 2 coming. We've got a 2-disc Region A Blu-ray set. It's got both the Cantonese and English language tracks for both movies. Commentary by Sam Deegan. Another time we're going to mention her. Multiple interviews. We got Ben's Kong Tohoy and Jade Leung on this. We got a video essay by Alexandra Heller Nicholas. We've also got, it's not listed here, but a booklet in this release with an essay written by the one and only Erica Schultz. Cannot wait to pick this up. This looks legendary, period.
I've never even heard of these movies. I mean, they look in, just by the cover art alone, they look interesting. So
that's a dangerous game to play with Vinegar Syndrome because many times they will look interesting.
Sure is, isn't it?
Not great.
Well, I mean, you mentioned Universal and the major studios not doing a good job. Here is how you do a good job. Just saying.
Agreed. Wave says Black Cat was the most exciting announcement for last week. Next up, we have February 27th. Warner Brothers is putting out Contagion on a pressed mod 4K disc. Perfect timing, eh, Chris?
Yeah, boy. Talk about a movie I saw all about one time in about early 2020, and that was it. And boy, talk about a great box art. Ooh, so good. Great. That makes me want to pick it up.
We'll talk about it more in just a second, because not only is Contagion getting an announcement, there's a second announcement for Contagion. So we'll wait and discuss the box art a little more in just a minute. Next up, Kino is releasing a really cool set of Republic Pictures horror. These range from 1944 to 46. It has The Lady and the Monster, The Phantom Speaks, The Catman of Paris, and Valley of the Zombies. Unfortunately, I think 3 out of these 4 were released from imprint films fairly recently, so many people will have some of these. However, for those that don't, this is going to be a really great way to get 4 good films, especially The Catman of Paris. That is one that people should be looking out for.
I have heard of none of these, but I like the title, The Catman of Paris.
It's a very intriguing title.
Yeah, it is. I mean, I can't even begin to imagine who the Catman is or what he's been up to.
And why is he in Paris?
Right. That's the real question that needs to be answered.
Next up, we have another big release from Vinegar Syndrome as part of their new cinematograph or cinematography, or however everybody out there is saying their new release. They are putting out the Nicolas Cage film Red Rock West from 1993. Some pretty great art on this one. Very iconic of the scene in the film. And this release is a big deal. This is the first Blu-ray release of this in the US. And we do have 2 recent Blu-ray releases, one in the UK, one in Australia. The one in Australia hasn't even shipped yet. So a lot of people that paid for that and now they see this pop up are probably going to be a little ticked off. However, this release has a brand new exclusive restoration of the film. It is a 4K scan, 4K restoration. However, Justin LaLiberty did say that the scan for this is a little A little too dark, and so they did not see a reason to make this a 4K UHD disc. This is going to have some interviews. We got interview with the director, John Dahl, interview with the co-director, Rick Dahl, new commentary track with Elaine Silver and Christopher Coppola, new video essay by Chris O'Neill. We've got an archival essay by Petros Patsilvius, new text essays by Jordan Searless, Keith Phipps, and Justin LaLiberty himself. And this looks like a strong film. Have you ever seen this one?
Haven't seen it, haven't even heard of it.
Never heard of Red Rock West.
No.
Man, Nicolas Cage, Dustin Hopper. This is a pretty big one. It's also got Laura Flynn Boyle and a killer role by JT Walsh. Yeah, dying to get this one in.
I mean, it sounds interesting. I mean, the cast alone, right? Like Nicolas Cage, Dennis Hopper, like, come on. Like I'm already on board.
Yeah. Dustin is saying, did we hear how there's a 2-page spread in the Little Darlings booklet that's from a completely different film? That's pretty embarrassing. I did not hear that. Is that the case? And is it referenced, or is that saying that it's from Little Darlings and they just screwed up? Anyways, I will trust Ronnie on this one. Ronnie says cinematograph. That was probably the wrong emphasis and accent there. Oh, Brian already got the umbrella release. Nice. Justin is mortified. Yikes. So it must have been a mistake. Good to know. Did not hear about that one. Next up, February 13th on 4K, they are releasing The Marvels, another MCU film, Chris's favorite. This is a Walmart exclusive 4K disc, and it will come in this wonderfully depicted steelbook. And Chris, you've already pre-ordered a couple of these, right?
Well, that's the thing. Speaking once again of movies that people are going to buy on Blu-ray, they're making this for someone to buy, I'm assuming?
Yes.
The same people that didn't go and see the movie?
Yes.
I mean, look, I know that any movie that comes out like a big MCU movie is going to get a physical release, but Disney, you might be wasting your time with this one.
Just because it's MCU, a lot of people will buy it.
Right, but you know what I mean. Like,
yes.
This is Disney's first MCU failure. And I haven't seen it. I knew some people that did see it that said it's fine, better than I thought it would be. But I don't know about you, but I kind of checked out of the MCU after Endgame. Felt like a logical off-ramp for me. And they really haven't given me a reason to come back, even though I've seen some of the stuff since. But yeah, I've got like 7 or 8 of these pre-ordered for Christmas gifts, bat mitzvahs, all kinds of things. Because I mean, again, who doesn't love to get mediocre MCU movies on Steelbook Blu-ray, right?
I might get it.
I mean, it's a nice looking coaster, if anything else.
I've heard this one's surprisingly good.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, again, like I said, the people I knew who saw it said it was okay, and just okay is not gonna motivate me to go to the theaters to see an MCU movie. Like, $30 later, it's just okay.
I understand.
Yeah. Am I a tough customer? Is that what's going on here?
No, I don't think so. Speaking of tough things to be a customer for, Shout Factory had their announcements this week, and the first one that went up was a 4K of Child's Play, the 2019 Child's Play. This is coming on March 19th, and as usual, no idea what's coming on the disc because Shout Factory unfortunately never tells you until just a couple weeks before. Did you ever see the remake?
It is from the producers of It, though. They would like for you to know that. It is from the producers of It, right there on the box. I did see this movie. I did an episode of my show on this movie. It was fine. But you know what? I don't remember it justifying its existence outside of the entire Chucky Child's Play story that's still being told right now in the other media. I mean, that's the thing. Like, this came out around the time that those movies... One of those movies had come out that year. One of those other Child's Play movies, right? The mainline ones, I think, came out either the year this came out or the year before. And I remember thinking, like, man, that really sucks for the people that made this movie because that movie's way better and it had like a third of the budget. So, yeah, I don't remember enjoying this movie a whole lot other than like Aubrey Plaza being well cast as just like a bitchy mom.
I didn't like this one. I really wish that they had named this Child's Play. This should have been named literally anything else. I think Aubrey Plaza was surprisingly great in this, but she's always good, so maybe it's not surprisingly. I think it was interesting to go with Mark Hamill as the voice for Chucky, but everything else, like Brian Tyree Henry was in this, I think, and I think he was good. But yeah,
is this movie PG-13?
Yeah.
Okay, well there you go. Right.
Yeah, that's a part of it. And agreed with Reggie here. I enjoy the Child's Play remake. It was Megan before Megan. Agreed. But even then, Megan has an unrated cut where they actually showed blood and stuff. Like, that made it at least slightly better.
I think that might be somewhat of an insult to Megan, because Megan is, like, I actually enjoyed Megan. Like, I wouldn't have even compared this to Megan. This movie is a poor facsimile of a Child's Play movie, let alone like an original idea. It is not.
Yeah, I didn't really care for either of them. Megan was pretty poor, in my opinion. Child's Play was pretty poor.
Oh, that's fair. I mean, Megan, I mean, look, they can only take a killer robot thing so far.
This is true. And of course, they're going to lean on a lot of the same beats. So
Right.
Not unexpected at all.
But it's from the producers of It.
Oh, I had not heard that.
Okay, now you know. And everybody loves It because that, oh God, hello, man, what fun we're having now.
March 12th on Blu-ray, they are releasing The Shining from 1997. This is the Steven Weber movie, made by Mick Garris, and man, they're making some choices.
Is that the word you're using? You're being diplomatic. Oh, it's your show. That's why you're being diplomatic. What I've always loved about the box art of this movie is I always forget it's Steven Weber because it doesn't look like Steven Weber on the box art. They've shaded his face in a weird way that it doesn't look like Steven Weber. I actually don't mind this version. And speaking of Steven Weber and the producers of It, he does the audiobook narration for It. And his audiobook narration of It is amazing. And he's great. Like, I mean, the book It is the best way to listen to and enjoy the story of It. And he is amazing as the audiobook narrator for It. So I love Steven Weber for his audiobook stuff.
I don't think I've ever seen this all the way through. I think I've probably only seen clips from this. So I can't really have a fair full opinion on it yet. But it's an odd month for them. And this company, I know that you said I'm being diplomatic because it's my show. I've ripped into this company before many, many times. So
Shout Factory
has been torn apart on this show.
For what specific reason? I'm just curious because, again, like, as someone who watches a lot of movies and knows the studio side of things, less the distro side, I mean, I can assume part of it is their unwillingness to be open with what's on the discs when the people that are buying them want to know clearly.
Right.
But what are some complaints with Shout Factory?
I'm almost surprised nobody has typed this comment yet.
I'm waiting for people to say something. Like, I kind of like posing it to you guys out there.
Here's the first one that came in. So I think it was last year, they all of a sudden started selling lobby cards with some of their bigger packages. It's like a 4K disc, and it comes with sometimes some pins and a poster and a pack of 5 lobby cards, and they're postcard size cards. But if you don't want the lobby cards and you just wanted the film and the poster, it was $40 less. So they were charging $40 for 5 postcard size lobby cards.
Cool. $40 trash. Awesome.
Literally.
Like, wow. I mean, as someone who bought plenty of collector's editions of video games in the mid 2000s to late 10s, there was plenty of that kind of stuff that I was like, oh, I got all this cool stuff, and then tossed some of that other stuff. So that sucks.
The other big thing is every single month they announce 1 or 2 at least site exclusive titles that are always $29.95, and they are not new restorations of films, and they generally have 0 special features. And so it's a $30 film, and to get free shipping on their site, it's $50. So if you're buying one, it's $30 plus $8 for shipping, and they only ship to the US and Canada. So no one else in the world can get these films.
Cool. That's great. I mean, isn't Shout Factory is not some bespoke company anymore. They're owned by one of the big dogs, right?
I mean, they are a big dog.
Okay, that's what I mean. Like,
Shout
yeah.
Studios themselves have become like a rather large company.
Okay. I mean, hey, it's not surprising that like one of the big ones, nobody likes them. So, and $40 for 5 lobby cards. Yo, I would like what you guys are smoking because it must be pretty potent.
Well, and some interesting things, like a couple months ago, there seemed to be some changes. They didn't have these massive packages like they were trying to do for a few months. One of their main guys that started Scream Factory stepped down entirely. He's no
Who is
longer a part of the. Is it Jeff that left? There was two guys, Cliff and Jeff. I think it was Jeff that left.
Okay.
It's interesting timing because shortly after that, some of these things started happening where they stopped doing the big packages and all that. So maybe they're doing some changes from the inside out, but then it's just kind of weird releases. Like Shout Factory has put out some incredible releases over time. They did that massive Friday the 13th box set with every film with more special features than on anything that has ever come out from that series. They did the first Halloween box set with literally every title, which no one else has been able to do. They've done some of the biggest titles in horror. And now we're getting The Shining from 1997.
They also released Little Nicky last year.
This is true.
I love Little Nicky. Roast me.
And
I mean, and I didn't even buy that disc because it had nothing on it. Like that release, like that. If this is kind of what you're getting at, that was one of those things where I saw it and I was like, oh, I can't wait to buy this. And then I saw what was on it and I was like, I can't wait to just keep the version that I have. Because like, why would I buy that? It was like $30 for just a disc. Like, I'm good. I'm not going to just pay $30 for a disc and not to bemoan shipping, but I'm not going to order something else so you can ship it to me for free. Sorry.
On top of that, a kind of similar in tone thing, they just announced Tenacious D and the Pick of Destiny on Blu-ray for the first time in the world, and we don't even know what's going to be on the disc yet. So
I love that movie.
I love it too, but it could be bare bones when that movie has a ton of great special features from back in the day. Just give it to us in high def, and maybe pay Jack Black $500 for a new interview. Come on.
He did an interview for the KultureCast on that movie for free, almost like 9 years ago for us. That was the one time we spoke to Jack Black, was for Tenacious D, because it's his thing. Like, it's the project that he would probably want them to show on the in memoriam when he's gone. Like, because that's, to him, it's a deeply personal project. So I heard about that, and I hope to God there's something on it other than just what they did for Little Nicky, which was literally nothing. So. Which, why even release them if you're not going to do anything with them? That's what I don't understand. I mean, for me, it's like, if I were the person doing any of this, I would be giving anyone who's spending their hard-earned cash on expensive discs something worth watching, as opposed to just, well, I mean, it's 4K. Isn't that enough for you? No. Especially if I love this movie and I want as much from it as I can get.
Speaking of that thing, Reggie is asking a question: was the Silver Bullet 4K a quality release? I mean, honestly, none of their 4K releases, especially over the last year, have been bad. None of them have been egregiously terrible. However, they're just not exceptional either, and they're not putting anything into new special features. I think one or two recently, I think they heard some complaints, and one or two have gotten new commentaries at least, or a couple new, random, hey, we found the work print or something like that, which is great. But it's, especially when it's a title that you've already put out on Blu-ray, you got to do something to make it special to have people pay for it again. I mean, come on. Otherwise, you're just taking advantage of people.
Yeah. And you know what? Stephen King's The Shining seems like they're just taking advantage of the fact that it's a Stephen King thing. Who is asking for this? I mean, it's not bad, but I don't know all the Stephen King's The Shining TV adaptation version. I don't see other people beating down the doors for it.
Maybe Steven Weber was.
Yeah, fair. Cortland Mead was. That's who.
Oh man, Nick Amini says, "Hey, it's Nick from Shout Factory here. I'll reveal what this post is about at a later date."
They want you to buy it first, and then they'll tell you that you wasted your money.
Kind of. Uh, this is kind of an example of that again. March 5th on Blu-ray, Shout is releasing Over the Edge, which is an excellent movie. Arrow released this on Blu-ray in the UK about 3 years ago. And once again, no idea what the special features or the specs are going to be for this. They went with one of the older poster arts for this, which is not a great poster. The Arrow release of this was gorgeous. I strongly recommend the film, but I don't know. It's an odd choice to just put this out now. I get it.
I have not even heard of it. It has Matt Dillon in it, who I like in plenty of things, and that that cover art is pretty bad.
And not only is it Matt Dillon in 1979.
Oh, okay. Hey, why not?
Very, very music heavy movie if you've never seen it.
I'm trying to remember, I watched a Matt Dillon movie, was it last year or the year before, where it's a very early movie where he plays a boy in like Catholic school, and he uses LGBTQ slurs a lot, which is fun. Forget what that movie's called. It takes place like in Boston or something. I forget the name. I mean, again,
well, then the slurs were implied, I guess.
No, they were saying them a lot. Yeah, it was expected more than anything else.
That's what I meant. Not
yeah. Oh yeah, they were expected. I mean, that became the gag that month. Was like, how many times do I need to hear this every time we watch a movie about school or like prep school movies? Like, Jesus.
Sibner, Over the Edge came out before Little Darlings. Little Darlings was 1980. Is this the year of Matt Dillon releases? I mean, so far, that's two pretty decent ones. Next up from Shout is they are releasing Carrie from 2013 on 4K.
Stephen King, we've got the license, so let's just do it all over again. Like, what in God's name is going on here? Who wants this?
There you go. Heather telling you, Chris, Over the Edge is amazing. It will be hard to top the Arrow release, though.
And Heather Drain knows her stuff, guys.
Clearly. So Carrie, how many times have you seen this, and why is it one of your favorite movies?
0, and it's not. And I've seen the original once, and I've not. I like Chloe Grace Moretz, or Chloe Moretz, as I'm sure she probably wants to be known now. She's great, but why? I mean, like again, like I'm not trying to bemoan movies coming out by Stephen King, but like, Jesus, I forgot that this was a thing, to be perfectly honest with you.
This got marketed like crazy when it first came out, and then not a lot has been said since then, once people actually started to see it.
Yeah, like the original movie is so good. Like I've seen it once, but I can acknowledge the quality of the filmmaking and the filmmaker, but I mean, okay.
Yeah. Next up, March 19th on 4K, Shout is releasing a Harrison Ford movie, K-19, The Widowmaker. Again, no idea what the special features are. This is a 2002 film, so it's a different era of Ford. This is the Dad Ford era. Yeah. And honestly, this is a good movie. I'm excited for this one.
I saw this movie in theaters. It was fine. I literally don't remember anything about it, but I mean, it's a Harrison Ford movie with Liam Neeson.
Exactly.
I mean, how bad could it be, right? I will say, though, it's interesting for me. Shout Factory, the things that they're releasing, like these are pretty mainstream movies.
Yep. They have money for licenses.
Yeah, it's I guess it's just odd to me, because I always assume, and I know Shout Factory is kind of one of those ones that is not necessarily like the others in a lot of ways. They are their own outlier, but K-19, like, who's beating down the doors for this is what I'm asking. It's just
quite a few people.
I guess so. And like, cool. I'm glad that people are getting an opportunity to get a collector's edition of this movie.
Lots in the chat have never seen this one.
It's a submarine movie. Yay.
Yeah, I would imagine many people have probably not seen this, especially those watching this. But we got a question from Anthony. Never seen it. Should I wait for a discount? Absolutely. With Shout 4K discs, it's going to be like $32 for probably more than a year, and then it'll suddenly go on sale and it'll be $22, and that's when to bite on this one. Although, I mean, I'd love to see what features they get for this.
I have a theological question for you and your audience. Are you guys buying movies that you've never seen, just sight unseen?
Oh, yeah. A
Okay,
lot.
okay, so if that's happening, why is that? Like what is motivating someone to watch a movie that they've never seen to purchase it on a 4K disc that, like you said, is $30?
Film discovery. That's the biggest thing. I
Okay.
can look at some of these and say I will probably like it. There's a lot of things that I can learn from a lot of these. The web of like film networking of this person's connected to this person and therefore this movie. I mean, this one, it's a Catherine Bigelow film. Like the
Right. Oh
fact
yeah.
the fact that Bigelow directed this is a big deal. This will take you down a path type of film.
Okay. I'm not, just like I said, I'm curious because again, that's not something I will watch movies, but it's like it's to go and spend a certain amount of money, especially like 30 to 40 to $50. I mean, again, I'm glad that there are other people doing that because that's just not something I've ever done.
Lots of comments on this.
I know. That's what I wanted to see what people are saying because genuinely not a conversation that I've gotten to have with people. So I'm just very curious.
Love this one. Haunted Sideshow says going to see a movie in the theater is a blind buy. It's called enjoying entertainment. And honestly, that usually costs more than this.
I mean, again, sure, I guess you could consider it a blind buy, but that's if you're not watching a trailer. I mean, you know what I mean?
How can you say something different about a disc?
Again, well, that's what I'm saying. Like, that is what I'm saying. Like you said, $30 is a lot of money. So how you want to parse it out is up to the individual. I don't necessarily go to the theaters for everything either. So that's what I'm saying. Like, I just try, because again, when you have to watch a lot of stuff, it's not easy to parse out every single thing anybody wants to watch, if that makes sense.
Right. Man, everybody wanted to chime in on this.
That's why that's why I asked.
Oh, love it. Great connection. Even if the film is not the greatest, you learn an extension, but I buy in the formulation of owning a research library versus a movie collection.
I love that there are all these different answers, like genuinely.
It's like a first date. Some surprise you, some disappoint. It's about that first time experience.
I get it. That I understand.
As a disc, I can flip and get a return if I don't want it anymore. I can't resell going to the theater. That's a good point.
Yeah, but you already know that when you go to the theater.
Well, you already know that when you buy a disc.
I mean, to someone else's point, you can't. I mean, to this person's point, you can't resell it. So, but I guess the other question is, with something like this, these retain their value rather well. Then,
some of them do. Others, no, not really. Like K-19, the Widowmaker used, you're never going to get more than $15 or $18 for this, probably.
Okay. Yeah, because I mean, I do own out of print things, as I'm sure you do, or like limited things, and
of course,
yeah, some things are really expensive, and some things like this is like, yeah, that's probably gonna be sitting at your local Barnes and Noble if you want to pick one up.
Right, and let me take off K-19 so we're not just like shouting down at Shout for the moment. There are two different types here. Shout Factory puts out mostly well-known titles that everybody's going to go forward to purchase at some point, usually on sale. The biggest thing, though, these other boutiques are ran by individuals that you can literally get a feeling for their taste, for the way that they are going to craft a viewing for you. So lots of times, if it's from a company that I trust, I already know I'm going to like it going into it because I've watched all of their other films.
Which I totally understand that. And like that connection with that person and that ability to perceive what they're thinking about and what they're interested in, like that for me would be more interesting than, just releasing all these really big name things, which again, like there is clearly an audience and a need for it. But for me, like I would be more interested in those smaller boutiques and the more specific weird things. Cause like, again, Little Nicky, like I'm a huge fan of that movie, but like, give me more than just the movie.
Right. A big example for the curation I was just talking about is Mondo Macabro, and they put out that Indian cinema horror box set that you and I talked about. And man, if you looked at that company and say, I've liked even 60% of what they put out, you can guess everything they put out. You're gonna love at least something about it.
Right. And we talked about that movie sight unseen for me, and I enjoyed it. So there you go. Like, and again, I would actually be tempted because of how good that one movie is to buy that whole box set.
Yeah. Back to Shout Factory then. The next odd title that everybody's going to go, what? That they're putting out on 4K. Quigley Down Under with Tom Selleck.
Cool.
Yeah, coming out from Shout Select. This is coming on March 12th. It's a Tom Selleck movie, but the big thing, Alan Rickman's in this too, and I don't think I've ever seen this one.
It's a fun movie. It was like that 90s wild, like Western comeback thing. Like yeah, those 90s Western movies are fun. This is a good one.
City Slickers, Quigley Down Under, and Wild Wild West, huh? Chris's favorite.
Oh, and Tombstone.
I was going for the odd ones first.
Oh, well, Wild Wild West is great. Yeah. Let's just continue to draw the ire of your audience by me having really, really improper opinions on things most people would go, that movie is terrible. It's like, okay. Where's the Shout Factory release? Where's the Wild Wild West limited edition box set with John Peters signed lobby cards?
Wow. Instead, let's talk about Sex and Fury. Discotheque is releasing Sex and Fury on Blu-ray in 2024, and man, what a quick answer to a wish list item this was. Dr. Will Dotson on my show literally just a couple weeks ago said, I would love somebody to put out Sex and Fury on Blu-ray, or was it even last week? It may have been only last week. And then literally the following, like 4 days later, we got an announcement for Sex and Fury on Blu-ray. Like, that's really cool that it happened so quickly. This one is going to be a brand new HD transfer in Japanese with English subs. We don't know much about the release date other than it's 2024. But yeah, stoked to see this.
Never even heard of it, but the box art looks more interesting than the last like 4 things we've seen. So at least there's that.
Let's keep going. Discotheque is also releasing The Little Mermaid, the animated series. This is coming in March. This is going to be a brand new HD master. It's going to be in Japanese with subtitles. Also contains the vintage English dub option and a newly discovered trailer. And it will have the Japanese trailer and a clean opening and ending. I've never seen or even heard of this series.
Having spent a lot of time watching Rankin and Bass stuff that was animated by Japanese animators, like this looks very similar to Rankin and Bass's stuff, and I'm sure it's at least visually interesting just by looking at it.
Are you a big animation person? I know we haven't talked about it a ton.
I like animation a lot. Yeah, I enjoy, I think, animation across the board. The only thing I'm not super into is like Disney's latest run of animated movies, or animated movies, quote unquote. But I love animation for the most part. Animation's amazing. And this looks interesting just looking at it. I mean, just looking at the animation style in and of itself sets it apart. So, and again, like I said, having seen a lot of Rankin and Bass's Japanese stuff, like at least it'll be interesting to look at if anything else.
I don't know if you saw the new announcements that went up on the Instagram today. We're going to be talking about some of that new Disney animation for you in just a minute.
Yay.
Next one from Discotheque is maybe their biggest announcement yet. They are putting out Berserk, the 1997 TV series. This is an anime that was out of print and is now back in print. I believe this is the first HD release of this in the US. It's going to be in Japanese with subtitles. Plus we'll have the classic NYAV post dub and all of the extras from previous releases, including outtakes that everybody is after. Never seen it. I'm not a huge anime person. Are you super into anime at all?
I got into anime last year. It was one of those things that I was very apprehensive to get into because I didn't have a very good entry point. I would say if anybody's looking for a very good entry point that's as cinematic in presentation, Full Metal Alchemist is up there. Berserk is another great one, but Berserk, for those of you that have seen Berserk, you know what to get when you watch it. Full Metal Alchemist is a little more tame than Berserk, but this is an exciting one, and I'm sure plenty of people are super stoked for this.
Just to be able to get it in the US is a big deal for many, many, many people. So this is exciting. I am stoked it's happening. April 2nd, Paramount is releasing Major League on 4K. You got two options. You have this Steelbook, and you have the standard release. This will be a slipcover. First off, Major League, have you seen it?
Oh, yeah.
What are your feelings on Major League?
I mean, it's a fun sports movie. It's not the one that I would pick if someone wanted to put on a funny baseball movie, but it's the most conventional funny baseball movie that I can think of. My favorite of these would be Basketball, which is very atypical. But this, I mean, this is a fun movie, right? Everybody loves this movie. There's no way you don't like this movie, right? I guess maybe.
I would agree that
Maybe.
basketball was a very alternative take there. I think Major League is actually one of the tops. I feel like Major League is funny, and beyond that, it feels less like try hard for the climax of this movie. I feel like they actually earn it quite a bit. With a lot of sports movies, they go a little too over the top. Yeah, I'm a big fan of this one. I also got to say, I know that he pointed it out in the Discord, but for anybody that did not pay attention, one of the people on my Patreon and in my Discord is John DeMarsico, who is the broadcast director of the New York Mets himself. And that was a weird way to say that, himself. He last year had, or maybe it was the year before now, it's been a couple seasons, I think, had a really iconic shot of following out one of their closing pitchers, and it was zoomed in on the back of the Mets player's head, just like this. And it kind of feels like they took this scene to put on the cover of this from that shot that took the baseball world by storm. Like, he's had a couple clips go genuinely viral, like way more views than he ever expected, and it is possible that it's made to look like the shot that he captured.
This is a, I mean, look, this, you can tell the quality of this behind this release. I like Major League. This is a good one. This is a good movie. It's a good movie. It's a fun movie.
I can't wait to own this one in 4K. I don't even think I own this right now, so yeah, this will be a good purchase for me.
Who doesn't like Charlie Sheen, right?
Many people.
Right.
Hey, I said we were going to talk about Contagion again. In the UK, not only are they getting a better looking release, they are getting a full pressed release February 26th on 4K in the Steelbook, which does look better than that terrible contrived poster art that we looked at just a few minutes ago. But I also stand by, I think it was Sibner or somebody made the comment that if they had released this in 2020, it might have done like Oppenheimer numbers when it was sold. But instead, it's 2024, and this is probably going to be a lot of people pissed off watching this movie.
I can't, like, and how do you feel about this movie? You've seen this movie, right?
Way back when it came out, I think. I hardly remember it. I remember it being very sciencey. I don't know.
It's fine. I mean, it's a Soderbergh movie, so.
Right, and I like Soderbergh for the most part. There's only a couple that I've really been anti, but he's made some stone cold classics, and he made the Aaron Brockovich movie. So I will never turn my back on Soderbergh.
No, I like him. I mean, that's my point. Like, it's a Steven Soderbergh movie. Like, there's no way it's not good. It's just, I don't know. This is one of those movies where the reality of what we had to deal with versus the movie is like, I don't know how much entertainment I can glean from this. It has good performances. I mean, I mean, as you can tell from the box art, like, it is a great ensemble cast, if anything else.
This is true. Lots of big names in it for sure. Silent Mandible. I didn't graduate high school to learn more science from a movie.
Unless it's talking about getting DNA from dinosaurs. Yeah, you're right.
What Soderbergh do you not like? That's a good question. I need to do an episode or two on Soderbergh, I think. Let me pull it up because it's been a while since I've really looked at his filmography. Well, first off, did you see Kimmy last year or the year before? Was it last year? That's his it kind of goes on with this. It's his COVID movie.
Right. COVID content, which, you know, I definitely go out of my way to watch.
Honestly, it's probably the best COVID related thing that I saw. What did you think of Logan Lucky? I really liked Logan Lucky. I think heist movies is where Soderbergh really hits his stride.
Agreed. Logan Lucky's great. I mean, that's a great Daniel Craig performance. That's a great Daniel Craig performance before everybody saw him in Glass Onion and we're like, he's a great actor too. It's like, yeah, he is. And for me, Logan Lucky was like, that was that moment that crystallized him being like a real force in terms of like, not just a great actor, but like a really fantastic actor was Logan Lucky. Cause he just kind of dissolves into that role. And it's such a weird role for Daniel Craig too.
Yeah. Just looking at what he directed, I did not love The Informant, but I've only ever watched it once. It might be better than I remember.
I have not seen The Informant.
That's that Matt Damon one. And then the other one, I think it was Haywire that I saw and did not like.
He's not someone that I gravitate towards. I mean, most everything I've seen of his, I've enjoyed. So I don't like Ocean's 11 and Ocean's 12 are pretty great, but
They are.
I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't, he's not someone who I've seen a lot of his lesser known stuff. I've seen his, Traffic, Ocean's 11, Ocean's 12, like the big stuff, Contagion.
An underrated one from Soderbergh, highly recommend for everybody. Side Effects from 2013. That movie is really well done. I think it's got a script that would surprise a lot of people. Great cast on that, with some pretty decent sized names. You got Rooney Mara, Channing Tatum, Jude Law, and it's about a woman that has a drug prescribed by her, and it's got side effects by the name. You could guess that, but it's so well made, and the people in it are gonna surprise you. They do really, really great in that movie.
It's got Jude Law. Jude Law is just, I mean, he's in Contagion as well.
Man, people saying some people hate Haywire, some people like Haywire. People should check out Che. Some love for Magic Mike.
I mean, who doesn't like Pony? Am I right?
See ya, Charles Longo. The Informant is extremely dry. Yes, very, very dry. All right, moving on to the next one. February 12th, Curzon in the UK is releasing Anselm. This is the Wim Wenders film from early last year, which I think he made 2 or 3 movies last year. So this is the first film he made in 2023, I think. This one is going to have the presentation of the film in 1.5 to 1 aspect ratio. It's got a conversation with him and Hans Ulrich Obrist. It's got a trailer on it and then subtitles for it. They, for anybody that has seen this is supposedly a really great film for 3D, and they've not announced if this is going to be in 3D or not, but supposedly that would be a really great selling point for this. So we shall find out, I hope, fairly soon.
It looks like a movie.
Have you seen any Wim Wenders?
Mm-mm. Are they movies?
They are movies, yeah, for sure.
That's cool. I mean, I do like that there are auteurs out there still doing stuff like this. Like, I would be intrigued just by looking at what this art right here is intriguing in and of itself.
Friend of the channel, Jeremy Long, that's been on the show many, many times, literally texted me as the show was starting tonight. And I want to read this because it is very appropriate for this right now. He texted and said, "I know you're doing your show, but I just wanted to let you know that I'm at an Arrow screening in LA of Wim Wenders' new film, Perfect Days. And right this moment, Werner Herzog is sitting right next to me." Yeah.
Who doesn't love a Werner Herzog sighting in the wild?
Breathing down your neck.
Yeah.
Big surprise for some people. Barnes & Noble started an Arrow video sale. This is going until February 5th. This is kind of out of step with what they were doing for Arrow sales for a while. So if you want something, you might want to jump on it. They have had some pretty good prices for stuff. Unfortunately, one of the biggest ones, the Coffin Joe set that I showed earlier, was not on their site. I'm not sure if it has been listed now. It'll probably go up around the release date since it's still a little early compared to when it is coming out officially. So around then, you should be able to get it for a pretty good price, even though it's been hovering around 70 on Amazon. But check it out. They've got some stuff in stores at a lot of Barnes & Noble. And then in some Barnes & Nobles, they've removed all of the physical media, unfortunately.
Barnes & Noble is, you can get Dune, which has Mike White's commentary on it from Arrow. That's a thing you should do and could do and might want to do. I love Barnes & Noble for their 50% off stuff because I don't even know, like here where I live, I guarantee you nobody's going to buying any of it because it's just sitting there. Every time it's 50% off, even then it sits there. They've got all kinds of stuff there. But Barnes & Noble is just weird.
I know at least 2 people in Omaha that are going to the Omaha Barnes & Noble Forum.
You know, they should come to Lincoln then.
I guess I should have given that context. It was weird to bring up Omaha when we didn't say, "Hey, you're in Lincoln."
Yeah, I mean, if you want to come like raid the other Barnes & Nobles, they're definitely not getting the traffic.
Yeah, I get that. Let's see. Sadly, the Barnes & Noble store in West Hollywood has stripped home video, says Nicomedes. And I'm hearing that about many, but then also, I just heard, I think it was, Shane wants to know, is Chris Stachiw in Lincoln? Chris is in Lincoln. I just heard, I think it was somewhere in New York. They literally just like doubled down and guaranteed that every Criterion release that is in print will have at least one copy in their Barnes & Noble. So that's a pretty big thing.
Huh. I mean, with everybody seemingly like the big retailers, like really ratcheting it down, Best Buy. Yeah. It's good to see that at least Barnes & Noble is trying to do the right thing.
Simner says it's Union Square Barnes & Noble. That is the one that is doing that. Nice.
Okay.
Hey, I kind of know what I'm talking about. Next up, February 27th, 4K Steelbook from MPI. They are releasing All Quiet on the Western Front from 2022. This is the exact same game out in the media book in the US last year. It's just different packaging. So if you really wanted literally the exact same art on a metal steelbook instead of a media book, hey, you have an opportunity. You can pre-order this now. Same disc, same everything, nothing different, just the packaging.
Cool.
I mean, I like options. It's kind of weird to release it a year later, but I like options.
That is odd. That is a little odd.
March 26th on 4K from Paramount, they're releasing Richard Gere in Primal Fear from 96, and I really want this. I remember really enjoying this movie.
Never seen it. Richard Gere is one of like a small handful of actors who I don't know. He's not my cup of tea. I like him a lot in the Mothman Prophecies, but I would probably like that movie even more if it wasn't him as the main actor, to be fair.
I secretly was going to shout out Mothman Prophecies if you didn't. I adore that movie. Imprint Films released that 2 years ago, I think, and it's a good disc. I think somebody could do much better with it, but that movie, strong recommend. Love Mothman Prophecies.
You know, all you got to do, I could put in a good word for it, and you could have the Mothman Prophecies writer, Richard Hatem, on your show. I mean,
whoa.
If you really wanted him on here.
We'll see. I've got a lot going on.
He might grace you with his presence. I don't know. I've heard that if you say his name 3 times into a mirror, he does just tend to show up.
I mean, that's better than Tony Todd. April 29th in the UK and April 30th in the US, Radiance is releasing Misunderstood from 1996. This is the first of a full slate from them coming in April, and it looks like a pretty strong one. They are going to have a brand new 2024 2K restoration from the OCN on this one. We got an interview with the co-screenwriter that is from 2008. We've got an interview with legendary critic Michael Cement from 2021. I probably said that wrong. It's probably Chiment. Child's Heart, a visual essay by David Cairns on the filmmaker and the affinity for childhood stories that they have. We've got a booklet in this, of course, and this is going to have new writing by Manuela Lazic and a newly translated archival interview with the director. Radiance Films, solid company, and it's a really good time to recommend just looking into some of their catalog. There's a lot of stuff that's on the verge of selling out, and if you're super into it, just literally every disc they put out, really recommend it. They've done incredible.
I was saying, just looking at all the special features, they're putting in the effort.
They absolutely are. Radiance is the new Criterion. This will be their year. I mean, last year was kind of Radiance's year as well. And if you look at the votes coming for Shelf Shock, I think a lot of people agree with that. Let's go to the next one from Radiance. And this is the same date, April 29th in the UK and April 30th in the US and Canada. They are putting out The Shape of Night from 1964. And, this is the difference. We were looking at some of those studio titles, and they had such awful cover art. Look at how much more compelling this is.
And it also, the picture you showed before, they come with that paper wrap on them, right?
Yes. It's a OBI strip, yeah.
Okay, yeah, they do that with vinyl, some of the vinyls that I buy as well. Yeah, I like that look a lot, and yeah, man, geez, yeah, look at what you can do when you have a massive. Oh wait, no, right? They don't have a massive budget. They just care a lot, and like it's like, it's cool to care about things. And like, I that should be something that we can all agree on. Like, it's cool to be someone who gives a shit enough to the point where you're really putting in time and effort to make something that people are looking at and say, this is something I would buy just looking at it.
Yeah, I really wanted to make sure that this got a moment, because it's a big deal. Literally everything they've put out has been great. It's astonishing. This one is going to have a visual essay by Tom Mess, who is brilliant, especially when it comes to this era of film, especially from Japanese film. The visual essay is going to be on the artistic upheavals at Shochiku Studios during the 1960s. We also have a booklet on this with new writing by Chuck Stevens. It'll be limited to 3,000 with that obi strip, and yeah, that's that. Looks pretty good. All that Photoshop shit is a voted on by execs who want to draw the action of John Q. Public. Yes, I understand.
It's for the lowest common denominator, which is the person walking through the video store at Target. Or the video aisle, the Blu-ray aisle at Target.
The next one from Radiance, April 29th in the UK. This is not going to be a US title, just the UK. This is L'amour fou. This is from 1969. It's a Jacques Rivette film, 4K restoration from materials kept at the Film Archive under the supervision of Caroline Champetier. This is going to have a newly filmed feature-length documentary featuring new interviews with the star, writer, director, and some collaborators, a biographer, many people in this. We got the renowned cinematographer Caroline Champetier and restoration supervisor is going to be interviewed. We got a video essay by Cristina Alvarez Lopez and Adrian Martin, who I guarantee that's going to be an astonishing work. Adrian is brilliant, very, very smart person. And then we got new writing on this in a booklet, as usual. Just continues. This is just a big deal. Another Jacques Rivette film, and for Radiance to get this, that's a pretty big deal. For I don't know how much you know about Radiance. This company started last year.
Oh, nice. I know. Since I know Heather's here, Heather and I actually met on a projection booth episode about Celine and Julie Go Boating, which is a Jacques Rivette film. So. Hi,
very,
Heather.
very good timing.
I mean, again, the box art here, like this, like the art that they're using here, it's just like Jesus. Like this, just the quality alone of the product. Just looking at it,
this is true. And Adam says this is 4 hours long, so just so you're aware.
I think Celine and Julie Go Boating is a rather long film too, if memory serves. I think it's like 2.5, 3 hours. So there you go.
Next up, Raro Video is a hosted label from Radiance, so it's like a partner label. They're putting out The Boss on April 29th in the UK only. This is a Fernando De Leo film, which this was released previously in a De Leo box set in the US. Unfortunately, if you really like this movie, this does look like a pretty decent step up. This is going to have a newer 2020 4K restoration from the OCN, and it's going to have new extras. We got an audio commentary by Rachel Nisbet, which I believe was in the box set. New interview with Fernando De Leo, biographer, and archival documentary on this one. And then we've got limited edition booklet with new writing by multiple people, including Italian crime expert and scholar Guido Olsen. Like, there's a lot. If you're a big De Leo film, this might be one that you want to upgrade. This is a big title for Fernando De Leo fans. And yes, that is Henry Silva.
I was about to say, I was waiting to... I'm glad someone else asked, because I was like, it looks like him, but he hasn't said anything yet.
Yep, Henry Silva, and yeah, it definitely is him, especially when you can see it a little closer.
It's hard to mistake anyone for Henry Silva, you know.
This is true. Let's see what we got left. Decal is releasing Waitress the Musical on BDR, a burned Blu-ray disc, on February 6th. No idea on special features or anything like this. There probably won't be any. But I got to admit, I'm a sucker for things like this. I really want to pick this up because I love the hell out of Sarah Bareilles.
I've never seen the musical, but she's great. I mean, she's great, period. So, and I'm a musical guy. We almost did musicals instead of Harrison Ford movies.
Almost did, yeah.
Almost.
It was a struggle to pick between the two, but I'm glad we went here.
Fair.
January 23rd, the Shout Factory release of Jennifer 8 is coming, and this is the perfect example of what they do. This is 12 days before their release, and I just posted this yesterday, so 13 days before this was getting released. That's when they announced the special features for this. So this is getting a new 4K restoration from the OCN, 2 cuts of the film, including a never-before-seen alternate ending. There is a new Looking Back at Jennifer 8 featurette called Is It Dark Yet?, which will be a retrospective with brand new interviews with the writer-director Bruce Robinson, and stars Andy Garcia and Lance Hendrickson. They both showed up to do new interviews for Jennifer 8. That's pretty rad. And then the alternate ending, they're going to be able to see it on its own little portion of the disc as a special feature here. But I've never seen this one, and it sounds incredible. I just don't know why they cannot announce these at the time of their announcing these titles.
But it's got Lance Henriksen in it, so all is forgiven.
Lance Henriksen, Uma Thurman, Andy Garcia. There's a lot of names.
John Malkovich, apparently.
Yeah, this is one I'm definitely interested in, and it's supposed to be great. Eager to see it. Cult Epics releasing All Ladies Do It on 4K on March 26th. You can pre-order this now. This was a part of a Kickstarter or Indiegogo type campaign semi-recently, and we have all the details on this now. So first, we have a new audio commentary by Eugenio Ercolani and Troy Howarth. We've got some new trailers on this, and then we've got a 20-page illustrated booklet with essays by Eugenio Ercolani and Domenico Monetti. And it's a Tinto Brass film, so you probably know what you're getting out of it. If you're getting the limited one, it will have this bright red slipcover on it. And I had a couple people ask what happened when I posted this yesterday. There was a weird glitch going on with Instagram, and I think 3 times this was posted with none of the information. It was just the pictures. So that was really weird. I apologize. I found out that it was happening, and fixed it. Here we are. All Ladies Do It. Have you ever seen a Tinto Brass film?
Not to my knowledge, but that doesn't mean I haven't. If you would say like, "Oh, he's done this," like, okay,
you'd probably know.
Right, it's kind of what I figured.
Yeah, I did the Indiegogo for this. Eager to see what all comes in the package, and I'm sure this is going to look pretty incredible in 4K. I think Nicomedes is a couple minutes behind because I don't think All Ladies Do It is a golden age of studio thrillers.
I'm assuming that's Jennifer 8.
Yeah, it has to be. This is probably the biggest news of the day. Eureka Entertainment in the UK has announced that they have signed a distribution deal with the US company MVD Entertainment Group and will be launching into North America later this year. First off, Eureka is pretty great because you can order from them in the UK direct with no shipping charge anywhere in the world. You can order one item and they ship it to you for free. I don't know how they do it, but that's pretty amazing. However, most of their discs are all region locked. So if you're in the US, you probably have not been able to watch most of their releases unless you have a region-free device. But this is a big deal. They have all kinds of Hong Kong titles. Their Masters of Cinema line is pretty incredible, and they do some amazing work. Now, what does this mean for their back catalog? Honestly, it could mean literally nothing, or it could mean they've been working on contracts for these for quite some time, and they're ready to launch with a lot of stuff. Unfortunately, because we don't know anything about it, it's all just going to be speculation. So don't listen to people, saying they know the answers. There are multiple ways that they can do this. It could be literally they've known this was coming, and their contracts for the last year and a half have all included Region A, and maybe they will be releasing a lot of those titles in the US. Or literally they just do it moving forward, and they can only release some, like Radiance. Have you ever paid attention to Eureka? You know anything about them?
No, but I'm assuming by this comment that has Jackie Chan sticking his thumb up that there's going to be some Hong Kong movies as part of this, or that's what people are assuming or anticipating, which I am a huge fan of those movies. So this is something that piques my interest.
Yeah, this is a big thing for fans of martial arts. They have really focused on that the last 2.5 or so years. Some people are upset about that because they used to put out a lot of really classic cinema,
Sure.
And now they're really hitting Hong Kong titles hard, martial arts stuff from all over. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff that they've released that has literally never had a release in the US. So it's a very exciting time. And then I also wanted to bring up one other thing that has nothing to do with Eureka, so I will bring this down, but it's kind of similar. I don't know how many people are talking about this or have mentioned it. Severin Films has signed a deal with Pulse Video in France to distribute some of their titles over in Europe. So for those of you that are living overseas, Severin is very expensive. You can buy a disc that will come by itself, one disc, and shipping on that disc could be as much as $40 to go to the UK. And then on top of that, depending on how the way they ship it, you might be paying import fees on top of that. So it could end up charging you, maybe you paid $25 for the disc and it could end up charging you, we'll even just say like $60 total, but it'll be more than that. For one movie, that's quite a bit, just in extra fees and all that stuff. So Pulse Video in France is starting out with 2 titles. They have Nightmare and they have Bad Biology. Those are the first 2 that they're launching with. They are going to be doing more. Not entirely sure when those are going to be coming out. It's not going to be every new Severin title, but they are going to be doing some. And that's a big deal because shipping from France to the rest of Europe is much cheaper than shipping from Severin in the US. So keep an eye out on that if you are overseas. I'm sure that will be helpful to quite a few people. It's not going to be the exact same packaging and all that, but it will be, as far as I can tell, the exact same discs. And that's the biggest thing is Severin puts a lot of love into their discs, and eager to see how that partnership grows.
Still want to get that folklore horror box. I'm still, I mean, I know. I mean, and that's Severin, so.
Yeah, and they have multiple box sets on the way over the next 16 months.
Oh, I'm sure.
Multiple. Very eager to see what they are able to do. Scream Team Releasing, which is like an indie horror outfit that helps distribute very, very independent films. They are releasing Late Checkout, which is a film that was, again, an Indiegogo or a Kickstarter thing like that by the director Josh Graves. I think this was 2 years ago they were doing the Kickstarter for this, and it's been looking pretty good for a while, and now it's finally here. I believe this will be shipping in the middle of February, but you can order it now. You can order a signed edition, which is signed by a bunch of people from the film, and there are some names attached that you might be interested in, like Felissa Rose, of course, from Sleepaway Camp, Elsie Holt from Your Next, Channing Morrow from Haunt, Kamara Cole from Time's Up. There's going to be an audio commentary with the director on this and a making of featurette. And Scream Team Releasing, they do pretty cool on their releases. I'm impressed with the smallness of their outfit and what they're able to put out. I think people would be pretty happy with most of their releases. They're not usually the best acted releases, but it's indie horror, and a lot of these, you might be seeing some of these people showing up in big movies in a few years, and you can get some autographs for pretty cheap.
Interesting. I have not heard of this movie, but the cover art alone is intriguing.
And on the back, you got Felissa Rose screaming. I mean, you kind of want to check that out, right?
Can I tell you I've never seen Sleepaway Camp?
Wow.
I mean, not that I haven't wanted to, but just, again, similar. If Heather Drain is still here, it's just a random cinematic blind spot that I have.
I get it. You probably should see it at least once.
Sure.
It's worth it. Even though I'm sure you know the ending, it's still worth it to see once.
Yes. I mean, everybody who knows horror knows the ending, right, at this point.
The ending and that face. My God, that face is everywhere. Next up, March 26th from Paramount, the masterpiece Good Burger 2 is coming home on Blu-ray. I love that I had somebody on the Facebook post for this complain because it says the classic combo is back, and they thought, hey, maybe we're getting both films in one. No, the classic combo is Kenan Thompson and Kel Mitchell, and that classic combo is back. Did you see the sequel to this?
No, but I'm curious if there's going to be any coupons for Arby's inside of the box. I mean, this is an opportunity for Arby's to, 2-for-1 beef and cheddars or 2-for-1 Good Burger burgers or whatever. That's all I know. That's all I know is I've driven past Arby's a couple times and seen Good Burger combo. And it's I don't even care. But I love the first one. I guess I don't know. It's weird to me. This is a sequel that's come out so long after the original. I don't know. The people that I know that I have watched the original or talked about the original or mentioned it, they didn't watch the sequel. So did you see the sequel?
I did. We showed my kids Good Burger about 9 months ago, and my kids, for some reason, fucking loved it.
It's Abe Vigoda, really. Your kids
really
are big Abe
speaking,
Vigoda fans.
really speaking to the 7-year-olds, Abe Vigoda is. We showed them Good Burger. They watched it like 4 times in 1 week, and then like 4 or 5 days later, my kid was in the shower, and we were sitting in the living room, and I hear him singing in the shower, which he does not do all that often. He's a dude, she's a dude, and did the entire thing like 6 times in a row in the shower, and I laughed so hard.
You know what? I mean, the original one has its moments, but I'm assuming you're not going to tell me to check out the sequel.
No, please don't. This was very bad. This is the exact kind of legacy sequel that's like, didn't you love the first one? Well, open your mouth and I'll put it in your throat again. Everything is hyped up, and that was done on purpose. Everything about this is just weird and bad and old and going down the same path and just not good. Not good.
I mean, the box art. Look, you got 2 anthropomorphic hamburgers. I mean, what's not to love?
Yeah, and unfortunately, I don't think Abe Vigoda's in this one.
Well, because he's dead. I can confirm with absolute certainty Abe Vigoda is in fact dead.
He was pretty close in that first one too.
By about 20 years.
Yeah. Next up, March 26th on Blu-ray from Music Box is The Crime Is Mine from last year. This one is a French adaptation of a film that's supposed to be pretty great. It's a murderer's row of a supporting cast, including a bunch of big French names. Paris in the 1930s, a playground for industrial heirs and debonair architects, but the City of Lights does not shine evenly for all. There's a struggling actress and her best friend, Pauline, an unemployed lawyer, live in a cramped flat and owe 5 months' rent. Opportunity knocks after a lascivious theatrical producer who made an inappropriate advance towards Madeline turns up dead. Madeline stands trial for murder and ascends to decadent stardom, with Pauline serving as defense counsel and media circus ringmaster. A new life of fame, wealth, and tabloid celebrity awaits until the truth comes out. Supposedly, it's hilarious. I'm kind of eager to see this one. I'm very curious to see if anybody in the chat has seen this one.
It's got Isabelle Huppert in it. She's great.
I don't think I've seen
it. You do. Your kid. Yeah, he's right. They're right. Buy your kids Barney Miller now. It's like $40 on Amazon. They're going to love it. They will love 70s cop TV shows because they're such big Abe Vigoda fans.
Yeah.
I'm just going to think your kids are super into Abe Vigoda now.
The way my 7-year-old speaks, he probably would be just an overall Abe Vigoda fan. Yeah, this looks fun. It's supposed to be hilarious. May 7th, Full Moon is releasing Bad CGI Gator, and Chris might genuinely buy this one. What do you think of this?
What? So, I mean, obviously the people who made the movie are in on the joke, but have you seen this?
No.
Is this like, okay, has anyone in your chat seen this? Like, is this something we're checking out, or is this like a thing? Like, is this a thing?
I'm curious because I don't think it says here. It says it's a new horror comedy satire called Bad CGI Gator. There was a film that came out last year, that came out last year, the year before, called Bad CGI Sharks. And I don't know if it's related to that or riffing on that. But yeah, well, I'd love to know.
It sounds like that gator gets turned into CGI or something. Like, I don't understand. Like, I would watch this based on the premise alone. This is something that I would have on in the background while doing something else. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it seems weird enough. This is like one of the first things I've seen that I'm like, oh, this seems like a weird ass thing I would watch. This feels like a thing that somebody was definitely like, this is a funny joke, and someone is going to watch it based on seeing the cover art alone.
I love that as I was speaking on this, Dude McMahon was also saying, is this a sequel to Bad CGI Sharks?
It's gotta be.
Stan says this seems like basically a parody of the Birdemic movies. The Birdemic movies are just bad.
Oh boy, I covered those in like 2015 on the KultureCast. They're so bad, they're barely even fun.
Oh man, I love that a couple people commented on the last film, which was The Crime Is Mine, and then I pulled up Bad CGI Gator. They're like, no, 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 I was not talking about this. Please do
How
not
dare you? I'm like on
associate
a
me with
list
that movie.
now. I do like the comment of, is this that the CGI is bad, or that the Gator is CGI and he is a villain? I do.
Right.
That's the real question that needs to be answered here.
That's a great question.
Yeah.
It's probably not good CGI.
Bad, comma, CGI Gator. Punctuation matters, folks.
And is it poor or is it cool?
Oh, yeah.
That could be a good
Oh,
question.
like that's so bad. Like, yeah. Jeez. Oh, this is a full moon feature, isn't it?
is.
Oh boy. Yep, good old Charlie. Good old Charlie B over there. We were talking about full moon videos yesterday, weren't we? With the Moonbeam Video Zone.
Yep. Universal is releasing The 355 on 4K on March 5th. This is a film I had never heard of until today. Genuinely. This came out in 2022. Have you heard of this one? Did you see this one?
What? Oh, hold on a second. This is a movie that's been out? I genuinely thought that like this hadn't come out yet. And this was a wow. I mean, no.
This is
Jessica
2 years old.
Yeah,
Jessica Chastain, Penelope Cruz, and Lupita Nyong'o, and Diane Kruger,
and Bing Bing Fan.
And yeah, these are all pretty big names.
So someone in China produced this movie, is what you're saying? Where they were trying to get the Chinese audience. Like, I don't like Bing Bing Fan is in stuff like for that seemingly sole reason. Like, I mean, like I've never heard of this movie, so I don't know. Tax write-off the movie. I mean, if you've seen, oh my God, what is the name of that Steven Seagal, Mike Tyson movie? China Contractor, I think is what it's called. Like, that's the same thing. It's like, why? Okay, sure. It's from the studio that brought you Jason Bourne.
And it's the dude that wrote the last 2 or 3 X-Men films. So that tells you a lot.
Simon Kinberg. Is this a Simon Kinberg movie? Oh, he's great. Oh, it is a Simon Kinberg movie. Cool. Yeah, I'm asking myself the same thing. It played in theaters.
Wow. This is wild. So amazingly, this will actually have some special features: deleted scenes, chasing through Paris, action that hurts, reconstructing Marrakesh, chaos at the City of Dreams, and some visual effects breakdowns. I have heard literally nothing about this movie until today. If you've seen this, is it decent? Probably not. I would just love to know what some people would say. Reggie says, "Is it from the producers of it?"
Yeah, I mean, it's a fact. We're using the same from 2 of the people that brought you a movie you might like. I mean, that's what we should put on that's what we should put on all of the artwork for any podcast you and I work on, is from the creators of and something that oh God, it must be good.
$40 to $75 million budget, and it made 27.8.
Do you think this is produced? One of the movies that I love people to bring up is Transylvania 6-5000, which I'm sure people in the chat are going to tell me that they love. This seems like that movie, produced by the Dow Chemical Company, which I
don't hate Transylvania 6-5000.
Are you a Dow Chemical Company shill too? Is that what this is?
No, I'm a Jeff Goldblum apologist.
I'm a Jeff Goldblum fan.
Yeah, same.
What are you apologizing for? That movie alone?
Yeah, primarily, yeah.
Oh, I thought you were going to say you're an Ed Begley Jr. apologist. It's like, what are you apologizing for?
I mean, he's pretty great, too.
I mean, that's what I want. I haven't seen a movie yet that says, from the studio that brought you Transylvania 6-5000. Then I would be like, all right, I'm on board.
All of all of the new Mad Max films will say, from the director of Babe, Pig in the City.
You've got me right that in there, because if that's the guy who made Babe, Pig in the City making Mad Max Fury Road, I'm here.
355 is actually how much it made in the first weekend.
Yeah, that was how many people saw it in the first weekend as well.
Shane fixed what he commented. China Salesman,
which I covered on the On Seagal podcast, that has Steven Seagal in it for 5 minutes, and it's 2.5 hours. So, great.
Apologist means advocate, not someone who apologizes. Yes.
Sure.
Next up, March 12th on Blu-ray and 4K from Disney. That one I promised you. They are releasing Wish. For many people, they would use the word finally there because this is one that they've been worrying about for a while. And the crazy thing, I kind of want to get this, and hold on, not because of Wish, but because they're actually going to be putting on the disc Once Upon a Studio, which is a featurette that they released last year that is surprisingly incredible. It's a look back on the 100 years of animation for Walt Disney Studios, and it was pretty dang good. I liked that featurette quite a bit. I've not seen this movie. I've heard nothing positive about it. It is coming on Blu-ray and 4K, and on top of that, if you want a Walmart Steelbook, they are going to release this exclusive Walmart Steelbook for Wish. Yeah, that's what they do.
Disney doing exclusive business with Walmart makes total sense for Disney, doesn't it? Just doesn't it? I mean, one of the biggest movie entertainment production companies working with like one of the world's biggest retailers making these steelbooks that are just going to sit there. Again, I have heard nobody saying, I don't even know if I know anybody who's seen this movie, but I know it came out. I know it was in theaters, but what's weird is like Disney's animation stuff recently just all feels very samey. And I mean, go back to that original picture that you had, and it's got a talking animal, and it's like it's just kind of like it's just checking some boxes that Disney feels like they need to check now. Talking animals, cutesy nonsense, things that you can sell to children, like that little star creature. I'm sure there's star creature stuffed animals. It's just okay.
I'm sure there are, but I got to defend Disney animation a little bit. I've liked a lot of the stuff from the last decade, and yeah, I understand it's a little bit samey, but like Moana's kind of incredible.
I agree.
Tangled was amazing.
Still haven't seen
it. You should. It's for broken families. It's incredible. It's
waiting for you to suggest Encanto.
Well, I would. That movie is amazing. And honestly, if you've never seen it, the Disney Plus exclusive Live at the Hollywood Bowl Encanto is beautiful. Really well done.
I saw Encanto. It's so Lin-Manuel Miranda, it hurts. Not in a good or bad way, but you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I'm not the biggest Lin-Manuel Miranda fan because the style of music that he does, it doesn't jibe with me personally, and that's just a me problem. And Encanto was fine. I mean, I don't know. I'd heard Encanto really like talked up, and I was like, it's fine. Like I said, I have no problem with Disney or Disney animation. Just like, we get it. We've all got trauma, Disney. Like, stop trying to make money off of it, please. Because like, as much as I appreciate the message, it is a little corporate-y, and Wave is right. Coco's the high watermark.
Coco's a masterpiece.
I can't even watch Coco again. I've seen it one time. Okay. Like, I refuse to watch it again, not because I didn't like it, but because I was a mass of tears at the end of that movie for like so many reasons. Encanto didn't move me that way. Like, Coco moved me. Like, and that's movies that move you is like, those are things that you hold near and dear. And Coco is one of those movies for me. And that came out in the last decade.
Yeah, that's true. That doesn't feel like it's been that long, but it's been what, 8 years?
I think so. Wait, 7.
About to be 8 years, 7.5.
Yeah.
Whew, Coco. Love that movie.
It's a goodie.
Last up for the night, RLJE Films and Shudder is releasing something that I've not seen yet, but is apropos for Chris and I, because our first conversation was on fan footage. They're putting out VHS 85 on Blu-ray on February 20th. This will have an uncut Super 8 of Dream Kill, which is one of the segments in this. There's uninterrupted cuts, a commentary on the film, and lots of big names attached to this. Freddie Rodriguez, Scott Derrickson, James Ransone, C. Robert Cargill, David Bruckner, Natasha Kermani. Not seen this one yet. I've liked the last few that they've done, or last two that they've done. VHS 2 was pretty good. Not a big fan of VHS Viral. But I believe they're also releasing, and we should be talking about soon once I get some more details, a 3-pack steelbook of the last 3 VHS films. Is it 85, 99, and 94, or whatever the other one was? They're going to put all of those in a fancy steelbook that you can get all of them together. Yeah, it's decent. Have you seen it all or any of the VHS films?
I have seen the first one, which like feels like, you know, like was like 20 years ago at this point.
Yeah.
I know it's not, but like it feels like it. seen the first one, and then I've seen bits and pieces of this one. I mean, look, you and I are probably big defenders of found footage in the face of like a lot of people that really aren't into it, which I 100% get. VHS is kind of in a camp of its own. Like I think for the most part, like pretty good. Even when they're not great, it's still okay. The viral one is, it might be the outlier there though. It was like the least successful, but like still for found footage, some of the ideas that they have inside of the anthology nature of the movie is fun. I mean, they kind of always do something interesting, at least, which is more than can be said for a lot of found footage movies that kind of just come out throughout the year.
Silent Mandible says 85 was better than VHS 99, but not quite as good as 94. I think it was 94 I watched, and it was pretty dang good. 99 I don't remember anything about. I know I watched it, but there's so many of them now. I think there's 6 total. They kind of start to blend together. That's wild.
I mean, it's a franchise.
Silent Mandible says, I would recommend all but 99 for found footage and horror fans. Even viral, huh? Interesting.
The first one is amazing. The first VHS is really good.
Yeah, that hit pretty well. After we do announcements, we always talk about what is coming out next week, just in case you forgot. We have the Raid Redemption 4K Steelbook dropping next week, Lone Star 4K from Criterion, that Coffin Joe box that I talked about at the beginning, Cutting Class on 4K from MVD Rewind, Chopper from Scream Factory, Cause for Alarm from Classic Flicks, The Devil's Partner from Film Masters, a whole bunch of Kino as usual. We got Run Silent, Run Deep, The Devil's Brigade, Coming Home, Police Story 3, Super Cop getting a standard from 88 Films. If you want a steelbook for Walk Hard, The Dewey Cox Story, with no new special features and still on Blu-ray from Mill Creek, they are putting that out there for you. The Child from Wogo USA, The Russians Are Coming from Kino. Another Full Moon, Demonic Toys Jack Attack, that's coming next week. Blood Feast 4K from Synapse. Mademoiselle, another MVD Rewind release of Cutting Class. That one's just blue. Some re-releases. And those are the big ones for next week.
You skipped over the Free State of Jones? What's wrong with you? I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Any of these first glut ones that you would be interested in?
Walk Hard. We're covering that. We're covering that later this month. You and I, actually.
Wonderful movie. Wonderful movie.
I mean, I'm a criminally underseen movie because of when it came out. But man, I mean, I don't know if I don't know if it's a perfect movie because I haven't seen it in a really long time, but it's a movie that I definitely think about because it's a really funny movie and it's a really good movie and it's a great performance and the music's good too.
The music is top notch.
Right. Which like with something like that, like, yeah, it's a biopic, but it's actually like it has great music too. Like the best parodies are good versions of those kinds of movies as well. Scary Movie, Walk Hard, good biopics, funny biopics, but also funny movies in and of themselves.
Sibner says that new Bob Marley movie coming out basically starts out exactly like Dewey Cox.
You don't want none of this weed, Bob Marley.
Yikes.
You don't want none of this. Does it have even the same actors in it? That's the real question.
The wrong Marley died.
Oh, that's right. Bob Marley, like they do in Walk Hard, saying the entire person's name. Paul McCartney of the Beatles.
All right. Time to discuss the main man for tonight, which is Harrison Ford. So Harrison Ford has a hell of a history. I mean, he has been in a ton of movies, but funny enough, really not as many as you would think for somebody that's been acting as long as he has, because a lot of the stuff that he does takes forever to film. So he's just not in a lot of movies especially for these franchise films. He's on set for months at a time, and then other times he's wrecking planes, and who knows when he's able to film.
Wow. Fair.
He has been making movies since ages ago. We're talking, I think 60s or 70s is his first film. Obviously 70s for sure, but I think there's one or two in the 60s. And the crazy thing, he is quality. Like from day one, he has been amazing at his craft the entire time. And I'm very curious to see where you go on this tonight, because we've never talked about Harrison Ford, you and I. And there's lots of different ways you can go down with Harrison Ford, because he's got the franchises, obviously huge ones that he's attached to. He's got the dad, rogue military, almost wannabe spy, I have a gun, Die Hard ripoff era of the 90s. He's got some very strong drama films, and then he's got a lot of stuff that's kind of unsung from the 70s, like and I may be wrong on the year here, but I know he was great in Force 10 of Navarone, or Force 10 from Navarone, American Graffitis back then. There's so much that he's done. From Similar says from 77 to 86 he ruled Hollywood, and he did. And honestly, he kind of did a lot in the 90s as well. Some other people took over, but some of those movies in the 90s were massive that you would never think. Like The Fugitive was a huge hit, and
that's a perfect movie, by the way.
Without him, that movie probably never would have done anywhere near as good as it was.
Case in point, the sequel didn't. I mean, it just didn't. And that movie had Robert Downey Jr. in it.
That's true. Harrison Ford. Why don't you tell me your first interaction with Harrison Ford films? Do you remember?
Yeah, it was Indiana Jones. I mean, and like, I think for a lot of people my age and your age, like, that's going to be the answer.
That or Star Wars, of course.
Yeah, like it's one of two things, but like they're really this different heads of the same coin. Like Indiana Jones, Han Solo, pick your poison in terms of what you like, because you might, more than likely, you're probably going to gravitate towards one or the other. And in this day and age, given that Star Wars is not what it used to be, and I'm not saying that as like I hated The Last Jedi, none of that nonsense. I'm literally saying like we have so much more now than we used to, that I could understand someone going, well, Han Solo is not my cup of tea anymore. Because like there's a lot of other directions to go with your love of Star Wars and even of your love of that character. But for me, it's Indiana Jones. And like that for me is the character that I think of when I think of Harrison Ford. Broadly is Indiana Jones.
And I don't think that's wrong. I think many people are going to be on that exact welcome mat for Harrison Ford, for sure.
Silent Mandible. I mean, we were good up until a point, but now questions must be asked, because I saw Cowboys and Aliens in theaters, and I slept all right.
So now the biggest thing is tonight, when you were making your list, are these the best films with Harrison Ford, or your favorite films with Harrison Ford, or did you go for your favorite Harrison Ford performances in films?
Little column A, little column B.
Yeah.
What about you?
Mine's pretty mixed on that. I think I've got one and probably a half. That's weird to say, but 1.5 of these are primarily because the movie's great, and the others are definitely because of his performance. And the crazy thing is, there is arguably 10 films that you can say that he's done that are literally perfect performances, like nails exactly what he needed to do for a role. And I will stand by that any day of the week for many of these. And I had to choose at least a couple of those. So I'm curious to see how many of those you got on your list. But let's jump into it. Let's go with your number 5 first, my friend.
So my number 5, and this might be controversial, but and again, your mileage is going to vary with the franchise, which I totally understand. And this is probably going to rankle some people, but I really like Harrison Ford in Blade Runner 2049. And I think Blade Runner 2049 is a great movie. I get the dislike and distaste for it. And frankly, in a lot of ways, the fact that in 2017, a Blade Runner sequel came out is nuts. I mean, it is crazy. And the fact that movie exists and it's as good as it is something that, again, like we should talk about the quality of that movie. But for me, I mean, Blade Runner 2049, he's great as Deckard. He's kind of just playing himself in a lot of ways, like the expectation of the older Harrison Ford. But him and Ryan Gosling together are really good. Really good. And to Silent Mandible's point, like I might be one of those people that prefers 2049 because I like the two of them together and their chemistry in the movie. And I don't know. I did a huge episode with Mike White on his show last year, and I like really appraised that movie. And no, Blade Runner 2049 is one of those movies that like I really enjoy now, and I will just put on sometimes just because. I mean, it's an immaculately filmed movie too. I mean, that's the other thing. It's Roger Deakins, so of course. But yeah, Blade Runner 2049 is my number 5.
I have to piss some people off. Probably, I've still not seen 2049. And the funny thing is, I love Denis. I think that he is a great director. I maybe another shocking thing. I'm not going to mention the first Blade Runner tonight. It's not one that I am really going to go to bat for. I probably need to rewatch. It's been a handful of years.
Me either. I'm not going to mention it either.
I good, especially after mentioning one of them. I think that's probably a good thing. The Blade Runner's good. Obviously, it's like one of the most renowned films of all time.
What are we going to say that hasn't been settled?
Right. I'm not pulling any hot takes there at all. I'm just going to go to my number 5 because I'm not sure if you're even going to discuss it tonight. So I'll be the one to bring up that franchise. This is the one that I'm picking again. It's for the movie, not really for his performance. I gotta have Empire Strikes Back on here. I'm not even a Star Wars person, but it's that movie. It is the Star Wars movie for me. I think it's the best one by far. But it's really a Luke movie. It's not a Han Solo movie for me. This movie's all about Luke, but he's in it and he's very good in it. But this is the best of the franchise, in my opinion, and it's got Frank Oz playing a really big Yoda part, obviously, which I gotta rep for the Muppet family, of course, and Empire Strikes Back
Muppet family, y'all,
is the masterpiece, and I really hope if people have not watched it in a long time, go back and check it out because Empire is the one.
I can neither confirm nor deny that shows up on my list. You see what I mean? I will say, to your point, if I were to bring it up in the future, the thing that I might say is the second movie is definitely the Han Solo movie in a lot of ways. Like, I feel like he gets a lot more screen time in the second movie than he does in the first.
For sure. One. But for some reason, it's not the iconic scenes for him. He gets more screen time, but it is a Luke film for me when I think about it.
Right, which I totally get, but like there's an emotional core of that movie that is Han Solo and Leia. So
of course. Yeah. Number 4 for you.
My number 4 is actually Empire Strikes Back. So that's why. I mean, that's why because like again, like I figured you'd ask, and we're here. And look, the version of Han Solo that he plays in that movie is the version of Han Solo that I am a huge fan of. And again, like it has some of the iconic lines. It has my favorite like Han Solo getup, which is that black jacket that he wears. Yeah. For me, that's like the iconic Han Solo. I want to mention something. And you know, I don't know when I should mention this, but this for me is like the Harrison Ford thing that I think of when I think of Harrison Ford. And you're going to laugh, and your audience may not even have heard of this. Harrison Ford showing up in his son's film as a bus driver saying, "What up, biatch?" Which is, I mean, that for me is like, could that just be number 1 and we just end this conversation now? Someone in your chat mentioned his cameo in Bruno, which is absolutely one of the funniest things in that entire movie. Fuck off. I mean, that's Harrison Ford. Like, if you've ever seen him on film, there he is. He's Harrison Ford, and that's the way he is. But back to the topic at hand. Empire Strikes Back, Han Solo, number 4 with a bullet. I mean, I only put it 1 higher than you, so I think it speaks volumes as to the quality of the character work in that movie from Harrison Ford.
Yeah, and we already got one comment saying Blade Runner not in the top 5 for either person is like blasphemous, but there's certain things with this, like,
is it blasphemous or are we actually like stretching our muscles here to find something that's not just Han Solo, Indiana Jones, Richard Kimball, Rick Deckard, and Jack Ryan. Like, I mean, we could do that as well, but I don't know if that's an honest answer as much as just the obvious answer.
So let me get that out of the way then. My number 4 is my Indiana Jones pick, and I'm going to go with Last Crusade for mine instead of Raiders. I, for some reason...
there's another choice there, my friend.
There is, and that's not my choice. I
like how you're like, it's not Raiders, though. It's like, okay.
My choice is the chemistry between Sean Connery and Ford. And honestly, the whole going after the Holy Grail in the tomb and all of like the puzzle to solve how to get there and all that stuff. I loved that shit as a kid, and that's why this is the sequel that I ate up immediately. Absolutely think this is the best Indiana Jones, primarily because of those two things. It just for some reason hit exactly what I needed it to the first time I saw it. So yeah, Last Crusade is so well made. Love the production design of like inside the caves for that one, and it's such a wild movie. The things that Spielberg puts in this, and it's just fun. Like the interactions between Indy and Sean Connery that are just played for like a real quick gag that actually are actually laugh out loud funny when you think about them, especially when it's these two dudes just having a ball out in the middle of nowhere filming this. I love this movie. I think that there is enough to really bring back nostalgia for a lot of people. And if you've only seen Raiders for the last handful of years, or whatever, because it's the big one that everybody seems to go back to, I get it. It's the first one. I think Last Crusade is clearly the best of this franchise. Clearly.
Okay. You know what's funny? I think what makes us good friends is that your choice, and when we get to if we were to show up on this list, I might have the even more unpopular opinion among some people's choice. Clearly Kingdom of the Crystal Skull.
I was about to say, can't wait to hear you talk about that refrigerator scene.
Yeah, as your entire audience just goes, and nothing that this guy does will I have ever anything to do. I get it though. Last Crusade for some of my close friends, and I think at least for one, if not both of my parents and my grandparents, that was their favorite. And it's because of that back and forth. And like, there's no surprise that they cast James Bond in the American James Bond movies, because in a lot of ways, Spielberg was making James Bond with Indiana Jones, or at least his kind of homage to that time and era of filmmaking. And so I get it. Last Crusade's amazing. Like, I'm not going to disagree with you, but I also understand not liking it because it is a more fun and lighthearted movie than Raiders.
Yeah. Which Raiders, going back to watch Raiders earlier this year with my kids was wild. There is so much in that movie that you don't expect for the first film in a franchise, and it like moves from the moment it's on screen. That movie is crazy.
Raiders is a perfect movie, but it is not my favorite Indiana Jones movie
exactly
any more than it's.
Same.
And that's the thing. Like, I think that's the way to have these conversations now, and this is the way that I do it, which is I can concede that Raiders is the better movie. But for me, I like another one more, and that's just personal preference. But I can 100% concede that it is a better movie and is a more important movie. It is just not the one that I gravitate towards, which is, I think, as our duty as people who talk about these things, we cannot let our opinion get in the way of like objectivity as well, is what I'm getting at. Because Raiders of the Lost Ark is objectively a perfect movie.
Exactly. That's why these are favorites and not best.
Right.
Don't All right.
Twisted, folks.
Number 3.
Number 3 for me might be one that some people are surprised by, but if you've seen the movie, you would understand. Frantic from '88. He is amazing in that movie. It is the time that Harrison Ford worked with Roman Polanski. Obviously, not going to have anything to say about Polanski that anybody hasn't already heard in terms of his personal peridelictos, but he's amazing in Frantic. Polanski directs the shit out of that movie. He directs the shit out of Harrison Ford, and Harrison Ford's amazing in that movie. That's a fun movie. I mean, if you've never seen it, don't look anything up about it. Just go into it blind and you'll have a good time, because like the title of the movie, it's there's a lot going on, pretty much like you said with Raiders. From the moment it starts, it's just downhilling as quick as possible. It's a good movie and a great Ford performance. And
Polanski's a hell of a director. So what do you expect?
Yeah, right. And Ford's a hell of an actor. So there you go.
I obviously will not argue with that. I'm going to go now for my off-the-wall ones. No more franchises for me. Very happy with the rest of these, and I hope most people are too. My number 3 here is one that I saw fairly early in my Ford years, but after all the franchise stuff. And it was the first time that I went, damn, he can actually act, like outside of Spielberg and Lucas-related stuff. This guy is a capital A actor. And I really loved 2000's What Lies Beneath.
Oh,
I don't
God.
think enough people have seen this movie. I think this movie is really well crafted. And I got to admit, the first time seeing this, seeing the chemistry between Ford and a little known actor that you may have appreciated from some other stuff in the 90s, Michelle Pfeiffer, this movie is astonishing. Not regarding Henry. Thanks, Sibner. I love this movie, and it's genuinely creepy. Like there's some actually good stuff in terms of making this a good thriller, especially in the final act of this. I think that this is a movie that people looked at and shrugged off a little bit because it was billed as kind of like Mothman Prophecies, like this middle-aged thriller, and the way that we were looking at horror from 94 to like 2003, and you and I have talked about this. A lot of the stuff that came out in that time, people just went, "Oh, it's gonna be shit. I'm not even gonna watch it." And it's basically a horror movie from the guy that made Back to the Future. Like, I don't want to watch that, and yet it's pretty incredible. It's really well made. I really hope this gets a really good 4K release eventually. The creepy scenes in this movie will actually get under your skin. It's really well done. This movie is very good, and a very like non-traditional performance from Harrison Ford. This is one that sticks out as a big outlier in his filmography. Really like this.
I liked him in it. I just wasn't a fan of the movie because I didn't feel like Zemeckis leaned on the things he should have enough. But that's because he's Zemeckis. And also,
Yeah.
I covered this movie at a time where we were towards the end of Tales from the Crypt, which is partially a Zemeckis product. And I don't know. I've always bristled at Zemeckis directing horror movies because it doesn't seem like he wants to direct a horror movie. You know what I mean? Which is, I mean,
Yeah.
I get it. I mean, genre movies, you know, for some people, it's like a dirty word. It's also written by Clark Gregg of all people, which is like the weirdest like little piece of trivia. You know, the Shield's own Clark Gregg. So
I will say, I think that Zemeckis's best horror is kind of a toss-up between scenes from this and the dip scene in Who Framed Roger Rabbit. Both scenes incredibly creepy, and yeah, he does great in both.
yeah, I mean he does decent on what is it? All Through the House, Yellow, and You Murderer. All Through the House is great. Yellow is not really horror at all because it wasn't the intention. And You Murderer, oh my god, it was like the audition for Forrest Gump's CGI. I don't. Are you familiar with the You Murderer scene from Tales from the Crypt?
I believe so, but it's been a long time.
It's the Humphrey Bogart CGI face episode where they have like a
Yeah.
CGI Humphrey Bogart face, and it's again what he ended up doing with Forrest Gump. That was kind of that early steps into utilizing CGI to recreate, you know, real people and their performances. But yeah, Zemeckis's horror stuff is interesting. It's just very not exactly what you would assume horror could be.
Stan Geezy and Daniel Sibner are attacking me for not mentioning Death Becomes Her. And as I commented down there, Death Becomes Her is a genuine masterpiece. It's just not creepy or scary to me, really. I love that movie. Yeah, it's great.
Death Becomes Her is a great one.
Next one from you.
So this is my number 2, right?
Yes, sir.
So for me, my number 2, and I struggled with this because again, I didn't know if I wanted to go, oh, Mr. Creative, and I won't pick the franchise thing as the number 1. So I didn't. I went with Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom for my second one because A, favorite Indiana Jones movie. B, I get the problems with the movie. As someone who watches a lot of Indian cinema, I understand what everybody's problem is, but also we have to go back to what the source material was doing similarly at the time when they were making those kinds of movies. They were doing the same thing. So just going to point that out for anybody. I mean, again, just to look at it through the lens of what it's trying to emulate. I love him in that movie. I love his back and forth with Kate Capshaw, with Kike Kwan, obviously. I mean, Short Round should have come back for Dial of Destiny. The fact that he didn't is a big missed opportunity, and now we never get to see that. And you know what? Marion was cool, but Short Round should have come back too. And you know what? I mean, Indiana Jones is done and dusted now, thankfully. We don't have to be subjected to any more mediocre sequels beyond, like, the first 3 movies are amazing. But then 4 and 5, like, I know people that like the fifth movie, and it just didn't resonate with me the way that it could have or should have. And that's just a me thing. I know people that liked it, and I know people that have the same feelings as me. But for me, number two is the performance that number two is the one that I really like. And it's the performance from Harrison Ford. It's the beginning of the movie. It's everything. Temple of Doom is just, I don't know. I could wax poetically about it like you did with Last Crusade.
Yeah, Temple of Doom is great, obviously, and I've still not seen Dial. I can't really argue with anything against that or for it. I've heard plenty of things, both sides of the aisle. A lot of people think it's cheesy fun. A lot of people think that it was a waste of time and never should have been made. I do think that it really kind of stinks that Everything Everywhere didn't come out 8 months earlier. We might have been able to get some short round in Dial if it had. Perhaps that really great run that everybody just falling back in love with him again really could have pushed that over the top. But it is what it is. It's over. We'll never have another indie, thankfully, probably.
Sure.
I say with lots of disqualifiers there.
Right.
My number one is one that I've been talking about for a good 5 or 6 months on this channel because it just got a wonderful physical media release. I have to say my favorite Harrison Ford movie ever is or wait, I'm only on number two. Never mind.
I was going to say, like, no, wait. Whoa, now.
Number two, Air Force One. I think this is the best Die Hard ripoff ever. I also, by far,
Wait a second. Oh, I could take. There is a movie that I think is. Have you seen Executive Decision?
Way back, like when it came out.
Rewatch Executive Decision. I would be curious if you still have the same answer. Also, yeah, can you give your audience a line reading of Harrison Ford's most famous line from Air Force One?
from a couple films. I think he says that in one or two others too.
Does he? Yeah, no ticket.
So my big thing for this one, and this is probably going to get some weird looks. I am a huge fan, and everybody is, of Gary Oldman. That's everybody loves Gary Oldman. No big deal. But the other one, Glenn Close being in this movie is kind of what puts it over the top for me. I don't think I've ever seen Glenn Close be in something that I don't really love. The biggest thing for me, I have said for years that my favorite TV show of all time is The Shield, and her season of her run on The Shield is maybe one of the most exciting seasons on TV, and it's primarily because she grounds that thing in a just ridiculous state of like vulnerable realism. And I really feel like with Air Force One, they actually do a lot of that same thing. They make it feel like the characters genuinely have something to lose. And then past that, the last half hour, we get like another plane emergency movie that really fits in with a lot of the crazy movies from the 60s to the 90s that we just don't get many of nowadays. And yeah, that movie's, it's just fun. It's interesting. The action's good. I love this movie. I love Glenn Close, and Harrison Ford really puts it over the top.
Get off my plane is a good line. And then he opens Gary Oldman. Yeah, it's great. I mean, I didn't pick it. I was curious if you would, and I also was curious, your audience's response to it, because again, it's a little, I mean, it's very jingoistic if you watch it. It's rah, rah, America first. Not a problem, but like I could see how that might rub someone the wrong way. Yeah, that's kind of what I'm getting at. I think Air Force One's a lot of fun.
Let's discuss your number one.
My number one. I don't know if it's going to make anybody mad per se, but I think some people might go, "Oh, okay." I'm not sure Harrison Ford has made a better movie, has a better performance than Dr. Richard Kimball in Witness, not in Witness. Gotcha. In The Fugitive.
Yeah, that's why it's on the screen already. I knew that was coming.
Yeah, I mean, The Fugitive is, I think, Harrison Ford's overall best non-franchise action movie. Yeah, I don't know. The Fugitive, I mean, the thing with the train, I mean, it has Joey Pants in it, has Tommy Lee Jones in it. I mean, Tommy Lee Jones and Harrison Ford opposite one another in that movie, like that alone. But then all of the other parts of the movie, like Daniel Roebuck, and just, I don't know. It wasn't me. It was the one-armed man. Like everything. The Fugitive is a great movie. It has some of the best action scenes of movies in the 90s. And I mean, look, I'm a huge fan of Andrew Davis as well. So
I get it. Yeah, this movie is like I think what you said at the beginning, a perfect movie. I
Yes.
can't argue with that. This is a perfect movie. Perfectly cast. Tommy Lee Jones is like chewing up scenery with Harrison Ford to the point where you could argue both of them are the best part of this movie easily.
Right.
Love both of them so much. It's great. It's not my number one. It was my number six. I just have, I think, more nostalgia for the rest of these. My number one is I kind of spoiled it already. I got to go with 1985's Witness, and
You did the thing. Okay.
I think this is my favorite Harrison Ford performance, and that's why I kind of saved it for here. Is because I think this is his best performance for sure. This movie is so damn interesting, and the fact that it tackled like Amish culture surrounding something interesting and how you blend the way that we handle things in a technological state, going against other cultures that are surrounding that. This movie is harrowing, genuinely thrilling. It has some brutal moments. Like there's a couple scenes in this that are actually rough. Harrison Ford's performance in the first half of this, like it brings a sense of humanity as a detective that is going essentially undercover to live in this society. He is taking something that he had not done up to that point, and I don't really think he's done since then, and showing acting chops that are just beyond what you would expect from somebody that is really getting famous because of Indiana Jones and Star Wars. He makes choices to take some of these roles that are going to push him. He always gives it his all, and this as a Peter Weir film is something that delivers a script that you are always interested in. There's not anything in this movie that really lets you go, oh, I can take a break from this. I feel okay running to the bathroom in the middle of this. This is a movie that you are glued to the freaking film the entire time. And it could just be me, but I love this. The 4K from Arrow that just came out like 6 weeks ago looks pretty good. It's not a perfect 4K. It's one that I'm extremely surprised that it got a really good boutique release like this. But if you have not picked it up, highest recommendation. I think this is Ford's best film.
Peter Weir, another project that we're working on, Peter Weir came up. So I see a reoccurring theme here. And to answer one of your audience members, yes, that was the Jim Carrey impersonation from Ace Ventura. Because that is what I think of when I think of that line, is Ace Ventura doing that. It wasn't me. Or I guess is that Ace Ventura or The Mask? You'll correct me in the comments, I'm sure.
I feel like it was The Mask. It's been a long time since I've seen either of them.
But that's a good pick. I mean, I wouldn't say that's the, I mean, given the way the comments are reacting and what they were saying, it might be the obvious pick, but I think it's a great pick because Witness is fantastic.
Solid movie. And obviously, I already said Fugitive was my number 6, but he's got incredible films like Apocalypse Now, The Conversation, Mosquito Coast, Force 10 from Navarone. Many of his franchise films could have easily been in top 5 and people would have a hard time to argue against them. But the biggest thing, honestly, I joked earlier, I think it was Sibner that said I was going to say Regarding Henry. Regarding Henry is an amazing movie. It's not one that has survived the test of time super well, but it's a great movie. And really, really strongly suggest, if you've never given Harrison Ford your time as like, this is an actor that I really want to appreciate, he's really deserving of this.
He's not just the guy who they begrudgingly brought back as Han Solo. I mean, he also is. But I love Harrison Ford, the person. He just seems so himself all the time, and also leans into like that old curmudgeon-y man that everybody expects. So I love Harrison Ford. He seems like he would be an interesting guy to, spend some time with. And hey, guess what? He's going to be in the MCU. Hey, everybody. It all comes back to Disney. Because you know what? I think they had him on record. He was just like, what did he say? He was like, I'd like to get in on that. I think something to that effect, or like, I'd like to be part of that. So there is a less than 0% chance that we get Red Hulk Harrison Ford because he's playing Thunderbolt Ross. Yeah, I mean, that in and of itself, sign me up is what I'm saying.
I think you mean a greater than 0% chance, but yes, less than 0% chance would be really awkward.
It's true.
Yeah, that is it for Harrison Ford. I'm not going to say get off my plane in an Arnold Schwarzenegger voice. I apologize. God, anything else about Harrison Ford you want to bring up or
No, that what up biatch thing is not something I think a lot of people know about. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, literally just go to YouTube, Harrison Ford, what up biatch. It's hilarious. It is really the best line reading of his career, other than the Bruno fuck off, which is also a hilarious line reading.
All right. Well, we're going to do something that Harrison Ford has done very unsuccessfully a couple times and land this plane then and say thank you all for hanging out tonight. It has been a really fun night. Chris, you want to highlight any podcasts coming out or any recent episodes?
Here coming up pretty quick, you and I are going to be talking about Walk Hard. I'm going to be releasing an episode you and I did on Bo Burnham's Inside and Inside Out takes. And yeah, like Ryan and I have kind of already hinted at, keep your eyes on the skies, folks, because a new project is on the horizon that Ryan and I are both working on together. And I know that I speak for both of us. We're super excited for everybody to get a crack at, to listen and give their thoughts. Because you know what? Your audience is thanks, y'all, for being as entertaining as I hope we were. So, and for all y'all that didn't get Arnold Schwarzenegger voice from Ryan, let me provide one for you. Come on, do it. Kill me. Come on. What are you waiting for? That's for you guys. You're welcome. And it has been a gas.
Thank you all for hanging out. This has been incredibly fun. I can't wait to see you all next Thursday. And until then, have a good week, and we'll see you next time.